Turn
And
this
his
on
wife and
then.
the two
You're going to
little
tell me who these
Two little
people
ones.
are.
Suzanne had mentioned about the two little ones coming. Okay.
Last name is Carey?
Their
No.
last name is Young.
Oh, Young, okay.
Yeah.
Young.
So he's actually George Chapman Young II, named after my grandfather. And then he named his little boy there in the red shirt, George Chapman Young III.
Oh, that's fun.
So I have 5 generations of Chapman Youngs.
There you go.
So Suzanne, were you a Young as well?
Oh,
then?
yeah.
Sure. Chanzio was on the second, and Gregory is the what?
Fourth.
Fourth.
And Michael.
Oh, we met Michael. Yeah, we just met
He was
Michael.
he was
in
the
June.
third, right?
Oh,
Yep.
He
okay.
was the third, and then Michael.
He was here before.
So Mikey was telling us about Mikey's house.
Yes, it is Mikey's
Yeah.
house.
Yeah.
It is not the Chum house.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, when did Mr. Chum buy that? Because when our family moved down to Dawson, we sold it to a family named Ayers. It had 2 little girls. And I wasn't even aware that Chum had gotten that until I started hearing the Chum house.
Yeah. Well, apparently Chum was like his nickname.
very
He was a good chum. And I forget what, I thought I had printed it, but I probably didn't bring it.
Excuse me there.
Hey Bob, how are you?
What his
How are you
real
today?
name was, you know what? I didn't bring that with me. I'll send that to you.
Oh, you're taller than your dad.
Hi Sylvia.
Sylvia.
guys. For a long time, have I? Who's this? Who's this lady?
Hi, Sylvia. Do I get a little hug? And George. George.
Great.
Well, hi there.
All good. All good.
Good to see you. So you had no trouble finding the place?
No, yeah, it was great. GPS is a beautiful thing.
All I did is just followed Susie, just take the second right at it.
Did you say hi to Uncle Greg, George? No, you gotta be shy? Okay.
It does help these days. They put up some signs.
Yes,
That does help.
Yes, it does.
Otherwise, it's lots of people who live in Highlands Ranch who've lived here for years and they've never known about the place, never known how to get here because they couldn't see it.
Yeah.
They might have been able to see the windmill,
Right.
but they couldn't see the house.
The house, it's so well
So
wooded.
a lot of people didn't even know this is here. I'm a docent here.
Oh. Okay.
On our tours we do, we hear this all the time. I've lived here so many years and I've never known about this place.
Yeah.
And somebody eventually tells them about the website and they come for one of the public tours on Tuesday or Thursday.
Okay, nice.
And it's a revelation for a lot of these people.
Yeah, we
who
were
are
here in
just not here.
Yeah, we visited in '82, and I don't think there were any homes in the immediate area, were there?
81 was the first home built,
Okay.
and it was in the area that's now called Northridge,
Right.
to the north, much closer to County Line Road than here
Yes.
at this point. But the first home, I think, was about in the middle of May of '81, if I remember right.
Okay.
But you're right, there was nothing else
Nothing
out here.
else. Yeah. And you're saying that tennis courts are where the parking lot is now, or?
Yeah,
Or-
yeah. Well, so we walk down across that
The
and then
family.
down to
You'd like to do it. If it's not, it might be too bad.
Too bad.
Yeah, too bad. We had originally hoped that we were going to get into the Chum house. We can't get into that, but we'll hopefully walk around there and you'll kind of tell us what all you want to tell us. And that's just because it's not in good shape in there.
Got too many Miller moths.
It's got Miller moths, it's got mice, they're tearing up the carpet, they're just doing a lot of stuff. That has not been renovated, and I don't know when the plans are for it, so they won't let us go in there. We cannot go in Marion's cottage. I understand you guys have lived there at Marion's cottage for a while. It's leased out, so it's being rented. There's a tenant who lives in there, so they don't want to disturb the tenant. So we can't go in there, but we can certainly walk around. And we can walk back by the barns, the ranch hand stuff and all that kind of stuff. So we can't, they don't want us to be going into the barns and touching and doing anything, but they said we can certainly walk around and look in the buildings and things like that. And then we've got our
Mr.
mansion.
Plow for that.
Yeah. So yeah. What is he doing?
Photoing what you're saying.
You're the one that's talking, so I'm filming you.
All right, so I think we'll start in one way, maybe we should start on the exterior because it's nice and cool right now. Do you guys want to do that?
Sure.
All right, why don't we do that? Why don't we kind of walk around, since we're on this side, we'll walk around to the barns. Or maybe you were.
No. I was married back on the East Coast.
Okay. All right, so let's head on back to the back then.
One of my
and we'll-
sisters was married at the Phipps Del Caro mansion.
Oh, okay.
Which one was that?
Sister Pam.
Pam.
Hey, dear.
All right.
Ann? Yeah.
She's the baby of the family.
Yep.
And Suzanne, don't you worry about
Ann
anything else, 'cause
Heckman?
I think between
Gearing? Ann
like, what,
Heckman Gearing? Is
Suzanne
that
and
who?
Carol,
I
is
don't
gonna
really
do, and
know.
hopefully Sarah will.
Susan would
just
know if
give
they
you
were
a piece
expected,
of-
but
Well,
I think they've been here recently, so.
Oh, all right.
Well,
They
neither
set up the
case.
tour that Susan did. Which is the house that's now leased to somebody, one of the two cottages?
One over there. Yeah.
Further one down?
No, the closer one, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know.
That's where we first moved in when we moved here in 1937. I was like,
I think that's where
about
Matt
38,
Clow.
just after I was born.
Yes, Kara,
And then Marion Morgan lived in the lower house until she died, I think, didn't she?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
yes, yes.
I've been told about that cottage, but I don't know that story.
Yeah.
Guests here today.
Mother of two boys that were my closest friends that lived down at the corner of Santa Fe and County Line Road. Closest kids my age.
Yeah, Woolhurst is down that area. And
Yeah, Woolhurst is still
Flying V is still in some state of being repaired right now. Actually, if you know the people who are there.
Yeah, no, I knew the name at all, and sort of had the impression that actually he was involved on the shady side of business dealings. Not mafia, but
Well, Woolhurst is an interesting history to it, and the idea would be is it was right on the county line, so depending upon which sheriff came in, whether it was Arapahoe County or Denver or whoever, is that all the Denver people would come out here when they wanted to do naughty things.
yep.
And they could just go to the other side of the county, depending on which sheriff showed up. And eventually they had a country club down there, I'm
Yep.
told.
Yep.
And that eventually it burned down in big fire. I think in the 50s, if I remember right.
Yeah, I don't
but
remember
that was a place for sin. We had a meet and greet here about a month ago. And the old-time sheriff for 20, 30 years or whatever in Douglas County, Zotos, I think was his name, came in. And he was saying that basically it was a pretty quiet county, except that the people from Denver would come down to Douglas County to dump bodies.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's generally what they ended up having to deal with.
So,
Is those things is the dumping ground of
The New
Denver,
Jersey-
Denver and Arapahoe County.
New Jersey is to Manhattan.
Yes, exactly.
Douglas County was to Denver.
Exactly.
The bodies.
Okay.
They had some little balls. So the
Cannon
way they do
ball.
it back in.
Was it duck pins or candle
No,
pins?
no, they were.
Duck pins.
I think it's what they. Yeah, but duck pins are much fatter. We just used the same. We just used the same pins because we didn't know any better.
Because there's 10 pins, there's
There was just
duck
10.
pins, and there's candle
But
pins.
that's true.
The candle pins are smaller, but thin.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad.
So what did they use? Duck pins? No,
But we
they
use
said they used the regular
the
pin.
cannonball, the little cannonball.
We used the little balls. Yeah, but I couldn't tell you exactly what the pins were. They looked just like normal ones to me. Yeah, they didn't have it like she was talking about. I know she's talking about the really thin ones. Well,
And we had heard the balls were wooden?
No,
No?
no, they were composition something, weren't they?
Oh, okay.
Whatever they made them out of.
they even had plastic.
Oh, now see, that's why it's good to talk to you, because we had heard that they were wooden pins. Okay.
The
the
pins
pins
are
are
I mean, I'm
wood.
sorry, the wooden balls.
No.
No, no,
Yeah.
You wouldn't have enough weight.
it wouldn't have enough weight. I always called them cannonballs. They were
Yeah, they look
all
like
I
it.
could throw, you know, a 2 or 3 pound cannonball.
So what did you have out in this area right here? What was here?
Lawn, wasn't it?
I don't think there was. I think there really wasn't ever anything here. Just this was sort of an alternate parking area. I think, just like it is could be now. If you had,
Overflow from there.
there used to be a garage on the back side of that
Well,
building
when we
now,
go sit-
and so there really wasn't big enough. So if you had 20 cars, you'd have to
have
They
some.
bring them in from here and then
Right,
somebody
right.
park
Park 'em
them
in
over
there.
here.
Did you always come in the main gate entrance there? Was
Well-
that the entrance when you were here?
Well, we kind of did, but we usually came up through the tennis court because we just come up from, walk up from the house is how
So
we.
where were the tennis courts? Where they were
Right through that gate where we came
where
through.
the parking lot is now?
That was the gate, went into the tennis court, and then on the backside of the tennis court, there was,
Yep.
and then we just walked down to our house.
Well, knowing the history of the Phipps Mansion in Belcarro, we assumed that there probably would be tennis courts out here too, because you
Yeah.
had the land for it.
Yeah, it was, you know, it was just some sort of composition. My oldest brother would probably have the best remembrance of what that tennis court was.
Yeah.
I remember going up there and trying to play a little bit, but I was probably about 10 when we officially went down to Douglas County. He actually finished back the old school that is now at the bottom of Chatfield. And it was a two-bedroom, a two-room schoolhouse with an outdoor privy. And I only got to go to it for a half a year before they built. You know where the new,
And
you know
it's
where
under,
the old school
and
is
it's
down
underwater
there?
now.
No, I don't know where it is, but it,
Well, if you know where it was like an A&W thing that was gone defunct just north, just before you go down what we called the Blakeland Hill.
okay.
If you turn
Right.
left and go to the dead end there, there's a little brick building on the left, and I think the school district still uses it. And that was the alternate school. And that was still a two rooms. But then they had the auditorium where we'd have lunch, and that was where they had the 7th and 8th grade also.
Yeah. It's a big there's a big auto junkyard down there now, I believe.
Yeah, it's a little further. I don't think it's off of that road. I think you have to go to the next
Yeah,
road to
it's
the
close
south.
to there. They used to have a restaurant down there, south of County Line there, around where Blakeland was.
Yeah.
Do you remember what that was?
I sure
There's
don't.
one where you'd throw peanuts on the floor and all that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, vaguely.
Vaguely, yeah.
I think this was always just a
Like a storage area for
No,
their
work
tools.
area.
Their tools and everything in it.
And when we get inside, you can see that what they did is they
this
started
is-
repurposing all the
Yeah, so
This is all
about
new.
where the addition
This
starts.
is all new. This wall, they took the river rock.
That's right. I forgot when I was here that they actually did integrate it into the garage.
They did. That had been a separate building, separate roof entirely. This courtyard was open. This, of course, wasn't here at all.
Yeah,
But my understanding was they poked. There's some large doors going out into a patio on the west side,
Right.
and they took some of the river. They took some of the river rock from the entrances that they carved out, built this wall, reused the river rock,
Yeah.
built this wall, put a roof on the whole thing, and integrated it into the roof, a new roof on the 6 bay carriage house as
That
well.
worked well.
Yeah, these 2 bays over here are now used for catering operations primarily, and then the other 4 bays are open and can be considered an extension of the great room that they built here, the great hall or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
You know, we've heard different names for it, not to be confused with the big living room, great hall. But they have a name for it now, at least. Sometimes.
They hit the Chan would know better where it was. They used to have an old carriage house, and we used to go in there and play around with it.
Oh, I'm sure.
Good, good. Hopefully, oh, they've got that padlock. Hopefully we can get around one way or the other. Let's see if we can make this.
Chan, where do you think the carriage house was, right?
This is the
So
chair.
that's the end of the garage.
Yeah.
The carriage house was right attached to the garage?
Well, they had carriages in here, but they're also one of the buildings on this side of the main road.
That's where
Uh,
the big,
up
no,
around
something
the
like
corner,
this.
yeah, up here behind the Oxmith house.
Oh, it was over. I know it wasn't right here.
No, well, they did have carriages in it, but this was really a garage.
Yeah, that's what I
Mostly
mean. I
cars.
don't remember.
So you had a separate building then that you stored or that you called
the-
carriage house.
Yeah, I never came into this one.
But the carriage house does have carriages that were never used. I mean, they were just stuck in there for storage.
But you had carriages here while you guys were here?
Well,
Oh, yeah,
There
I mean,
were?
there was
They
a
came with
coach.
ramp.
There was one coach that was, you know, that had pull-down drapes and all of that thing, and then there was at least one open
Yeah.
carriage, and then there was one other, just probably two-wheel cart.
Oh, okay.
Wasn't a lot of them, but
Right.
Where was the carriage house?
Well, and so we had heard that 1 or 2 of them, I didn't know how they got there, but they're up in Cheyenne at the museum. Was that from the Phipps family then?
it's possible that, because I know when they were doing that, they were trying to figure out where to get stuff out
Oh,
to,
okay.
because when
All right, that'll,
some of the stuff was sold, they were trying to figure out what to do, and if nobody wanted it, it's like, unfortunately, there are people that like to restore and keep those things, and I think it was one of those. Somebody in the family might have a little better knowledge of where that,
We'll have to ask
some of that stuff.
ask Lauren too. I'm gonna ask Donna to make sure she writes that down. Because see, this kind of stuff is new, or at least I hadn't heard that. Mark, did you?
I had not.
No,
No,
okay.
I
So
had not.
we love you.
I'll probably recognize it if I see it, because we'd always go out there, and it was stuck back from the
playroom.
main road there
Yeah.
a little bit, which kind of goes by the old,
And
what we call the bunkhouse, which is the long building
Right.
down there.
Just a little bit further down.
we bought the house.
Yeah, this area is all pretty much not included in any of the tours that we
Yeah,
get when we give a tour of the mansion itself.
well, I think most people, they only want to do is see the house.
No,
anyway, which
most
helps.
people do. Occasionally people ask about, well, where did the servants live, or where the ranch hands live, where were the stables for the horses.
You say, oh, on the other side of this giant rock wall.
That's right.
It's a very short shot from
So
where,
maybe
where the
you know
bowling alley
maybe
is.
you know the answer. Where were the stables for the horses?
Well, most of the horse stables were, you know where the gun thing for the...
It's now called the Law Enforcement
Right.
Training Center.
That was where the majority of the riding horses were doing. They'd keep the cowboys' horses up
Yeah.
this way.
We actually just down there last night,
Yeah.
and there's a big building in my. We
There
asked.
were at least 2 long things.
So maybe they either built on top of the same
I
site
would be willing to bet they would have like 30 horses
or kept.
during,
Marvin
during the
Beeman.
winter hunting
Did
season.
you know Marvin or Marvin's father?
Oh yeah, as a matter of fact, I hunt with Marvin every year.
Okay. Well,
I'm
Marvin
still
told
hunting.
me at one point in time. I asked him about a month ago,
Yeah.
and he said there was as many as 51 horses he was taking care of here.
Well, that's possibly true, but I mean the ones that would actually
Yeah,
be put in at
but
night
would be there.
Some of them would be left in the field, and then they'd pull them in.
Right.
And,
There's 2 of them down there now.
well, that's good. That's
They have their own little house.
Yes.
Yeah.
and actually that's where Marvin used to live too, as you
Right.
probably well
Right.
know. I mean
Yeah.
that's where he
And
grew
the,
up effectively.
And the Highlands Ranch Community Association takes care of the backcountry and also the care and feeding of those 2 horses twice a day.
Okay.
So we were with them, and that was one of their stops. In addition to showing us a couple of the old homesteads,
Okay.
showed us the.
So do you know where the horses came from, or I mean they were older?
These 2 are used to pull on the hay rides and things they do.
Oh, okay. So
and these
they're
ones
not
came
completely
from.
retired, or that's just a nice place to keep them.
Yeah, and these were. They said it was a particular brand. I couldn't remember, Pulchard or something like this, and they said they came from Indiana.
Okay. Yeah. Well, they're
They're
probably
white.
Percherons. The Percherons.
Yeah,
And a
could
lot
be.
of the hunt horses actually had Percheron blood in them. They bred them to be an 8th Percheron and 7/8 thoroughbred, because the Percherons are a little
Yeah.
stronger for running around on the hard ground in the winter.
Yeah.
And
Anyway,
thoroughbreds
there's
are a little
There's 2
crazy
there.
too. So
There's a guy and a girl,
yeah.
and they're challenged with feeding them twice a day.
Yep. Well, it's good.
Yeah. Let's see what these folk are saying here.
And then, of course, you know that's where all the water came from up
Yeah.
there.
I'm sure we'll have some stories
And I
about
think
that.
I think it had good fluoride, because most of us that grew up there had very few cavities and such.
Much place to live.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I
they
recall
didn't
there
start
wasn't
adding
much of a
fluoride until the 60s, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
Just careful. The
Oh,
windmill.
that's a good view of Devil's Head from here.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yeah, it just kind of sticks out there, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that's just a bike trail up there?
Well, forgive me if I'm... Devil's Head's over there, isn't it? The one we're looking at?
No, that's that one right there. Well, maybe you're right.
Which one? I thought that was Devil's Head.
Devil's Head's further down. That's this little promontory.
Yeah.
If you go south a little bit towards the
Then you'll see it.
then you can see
Then you'll see it.
a
Yeah.
whole bunch of little.
Yeah, I've hiked up there before. Been a while, but
Yeah, that's
I
actually
have
where
done
we
that
live
hike.
now. Our ranch is just to.
Oh, you out there?
We're just to the east of Devil's Head, off of 105. That's.
okay.
Mom's right behind you,
Well,
Sylvia.
obviously they did a lot of work in the backyard. We saw some construction photos where they took out what appeared to be either a koi pond or a swimming pool. Do you have recollections of whether there was a swimming pool here?
Yeah, there was a swimming pool.
We saw some of basically on the north side of the trees there.
I'm thinking it was on the north side of the trees. I was thinking
Yeah.
it was very close to the house.
Yeah.
And you know, we weren't much swimmers and such, and I think it was more for them to just get in there and cool their feet.
Now, the docents have heard this anecdotal story. They said that the kids who lived here used to ice skate on the reservoir up there by the windmill and swim there in the summer.
It's possible. I mean,
Possible?
I was, like I said, I was just a little young. Chan's going to be the one to know what the little older people did.
Yeah.
Now, there were just outside the front gate there, on the drive, there used to be a circular drive going down
Yeah.
to our house, and then it would go just straight west
Yeah.
on that old county line road. Well, not county line road, but a section road probably. And there were 2 ski towers there.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
The low one and
High
a high
house, low
throw.
house. Yeah.
And then on the south end of the parking lot, where Susie kept her chickens for a while, there was also one of those concrete underground things where somebody would throw it out so you could
Trap
practice.
house.
Is
Yeah.
that what they call those?
That's called trap.
That's a trap
Yeah.
house? Yeah.
Skeet's the low-high
No,
thing.
that's the skeet was there and there was the trap down there.
Oh, they had that too. So I suppose if we ever dug that up, we'd find lots of broken clay pigeons.
I think you would, yes.
Yeah, we might. And maybe some shotgun shells.
Probably, exactly. But what I hadn't forgotten, and from what Susie said, because I was younger, I think the parents actually managed to get that house finished before the war. But then they were gone.
Yeah, we were
for
told
3,
that that
4 years.
was built in the late 30s.
Yes, that's what they have.
I remember
Supposedly,
being told.
we have a picture. We're going to look. Susie's looking for it of
Yeah.
her and Chan, about the size of those 2 kids,
Yeah.
sitting, standing in the fireplace.
Yeah, it's tall enough. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's see what they're telling us here.
And we had
Well, you
our
all
milk.
survived, so.
Yeah, we drank raw milk, except right after the war. There's a little couch down beside pasteurizer mother bought.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We didn't worry about that now, but when I came over to feed my calves, I would grab a gallon of milk from
Right, directly
milk
from
for
it.
them.
Can I ask you to repeat what you just now told me about the well? And Mark, would you get that? It's really interesting.
I think I mentioned it to you earlier that the water that we had down here was pumped and kept in that reservoir, and the water was good, and it came from the same formation that they have in Colorado Springs where they discovered fluoride. We all had really good teeth. The bad part of it is that it didn't have the fence around the reservoir, and so animals, birds, and even up to small calves, coyotes and dogs would fall in there and drown, and about every 5 years they would clean it out. And I was up there as a kid one time watching them clean it out, and the bottom was this deep, in muck that had decayed through that water that was then coming down, and we were drinking it, straight from the reservoir. And fortunately, maybe it made us immune to many things, I don't know.
You just got extra nutrients.
Yeah, right. That was,
I'm not
yeah,
sure what dead bodies do to water. But
yeah, but anyway.
Well, they flavor it.
Yeah.
All right. Get a picture of that.
oh, yeah.
Of the. Well, and that's what everybody calls the iconic in quotes.
Yeah.
This is the iconic Highlands Ranch or the mansion.
Yeah.
But everybody.
But that you
thinks
can
of-
see from any distance from the house, as you were saying earlier, you can't
Yeah.
because of all the trees. And
Yeah. All right. Very good.
That's the one that ends up on all the calendars
Yeah.
that the Highlands Ranch Community Association publishes.
Yeah.
And in fact, we even have it on our brochure.
And artists and all kind of people do things with
So there's
that.
our brochure. Yeah, I've got one for each of you. So we've got that on our brochure. And our symbol for the Historical Society is the lamps out there on the front porch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's why it's like, we're so tied into the mansion. We just all
Right,
love
okay.
learning more about it.
Okay.
And I'll take you don't have to carry it now, but I've got one for each of you.
Well, I'll keep it. Maybe I'll keep me.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
So when you were talking about the dead bodies earlier,
Yeah.
whatever, the longtime sheriff, maybe you knew him
Zodos.
of Douglas County, was Zodos, and so he came to our little meet and greet. He was saying that it was a pretty quiet county, with the exception of they had all the dead bodies that the people in Denver would use Douglas County as the dumping ground out here, and so they had to they'd discover one of those and then have to deal with those incidents. But it wasn't Douglas County inspired stuff. It was all the stuff from Denver and Arapahoe County to the north. They come here as the dumping ground.
And I'm sure we got dumped on.
Made life a little more interesting for them here in largely a pretty quiet agricultural rural county at that time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Of course.
I mean, a solid branch line
And then
down
it
to the Santa Fe Drive, which then used to be the main highway between Denver and Colorado Springs. And we went to a little grade school, stone grade school with 2 rooms, 4 grades in each room. I was always salutatorian of my class because there was one person in my class smarter than I was, and I was the least smart. But anyway, two people, and that's now under the Chatfield Dam. So when they put the Chatfield Dam in, that historical item disappeared.
So here's one of the rumors that I had heard. Tell me if it's true. I had heard that the Phipps family had given the land to the federal government as opposed to selling it to them because they got a better tax break
For the Chatfield Dam.
for the Chatfield Reservoir for flood control.
Oh,
Do you have any insight into that?
I don't. No, I don't know about it. I
That would
suspect
have
that's true.
definitely been
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it might have
That
been,
makes
might have been
sense.
done, yeah, but
Well, that would mean that the land would have extended past Santa Fe.
We'd also heard
yes.
we'd also
All
heard the rumor it went all the way to the
hay
foothills.
range was
Yeah.
down.
All the hay
The
fields
whole
were past
hay,
Santa Fe.
if you got cattle, you got to have hay, the whole Plum Creek Valley.
Sure.
And that's where Bud Morgan comes into the story. He
Mm-hmm.
was the operations manager for that hay operation until Chatfield came
Yeah.
in.
That was
Yep.
run by the Morgans.
And so I guess, and Chatfield actually filled up when? That was after the 62 flood or before it?
yeah, 61 flood, I think it was. But anyway,
That's right. It took out half of Denver and then they
Yeah, we
built
heard
the
it was all
Chatfield.
about flood control at that
yeah, it
point
was.
after
Yeah.
a bad
And that's
flood.
why it had such a low
Yeah.
water level compared to the dam. It was actually had more volume than was stored there in case there was another one of those 100-year floods.
Yeah.
But of
Which
course,
seemed
now
to
all the-
happen more often than every 100 years.
Yeah. Well, here, no. I mean, these places every 100 years. And now Fort Collins has had it. In fact, the whole north part of the state has had that.
Yeah, they've been
1,000-year
pounded
storm.
pretty. They've been pounded pretty good here the last
Yeah,
couple
but
of years.
they were building the Cherry Creek Dam in our grade school days because of the
Cherry Creek
100-year
floods,
flood, of
yeah.
the 100-year flood
Yeah.
coming down that way. And I think
A la Castlewood Canyon, for example.
Yep.
yeah,
And the Castlewood dam breaking and all.
yeah,
That kind of flood.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always a dam breaking that makes some of the best floods.
True.
Yeah. Although when that storm in 61,
Or
there
Estes
weren't
Park.
any dams.
In 76, Estes Park dam breaking and
Yeah.
Big Thompson Canyon, that's
Yep.
another notable one.
Yep.
That they
Where-
washed everybody out up at
Stationary
Loveland.
thunderstorm that dumped and dam breaks and then everything just
Yeah, we
roars
were
through the
actually living
canyon.
Yeah,
Fort
and
Collins
that
when that
went
hit.
down the Little Thompson and took out half of Loveland, I bet.
Yeah, and the Big Thompson too, I think.
Yeah. Down Big Thompson, you're right.
Yeah. But Lyons got hit, of course, a couple years ago.
A couple of those.
Did it?
Last fall it was. Lyons got hit just terribly.
Okay. And they got their 100-year flood.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, big time.
That was actually the most damage. I mean, that thing, they're still cleaning up from that.
Oh,
They
yeah?
did.
Yeah, they are.
They didn't get some roads open. And one little town up there kind of ceased to exist.
Glen Haven was isolated, basically.
And it went all the way down to probably
For quite a while. I had a friend who lived up in Estes Park at the time, and he had business down in Denver and Boulder and whatever. And what normally was an hour drive from Estes down to Boulder became a 4-hour drive because he had to take the peak-to-peak south and then work his way around, and who knows
Do
what.
all that kind of good
But they had
stuff.
flooding in Jamestown too. Had lots of issues to deal with.
Yeah. That.
So finally, he ended up just renting an apartment down in Boulder just because it was impractical for him to continue
To do that
to
commute.
live up there and do that commute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he finally just had to get a place, which
Yeah.
he did.
And if they don't get flooded, they get the fires.
Yeah.
Yeah. Back when we were living on the ranch, there was a big fire, one of the big fires, like the Fort Collins fires and the Waldo Canyon fire in Colorado Springs, Manitou Springs. It was one of those kind of fires going on up there for a couple of weeks.
Not surprised.
But back then, there was no homes up there to try and worry about. And not a lot of people that needed to
Then
be
we had
evacuated and rescued.
the Deckers fire, and let's see, that's when I came back for one of my high school reunions, and I took pictures on my great big old video camera. Because I was back for a high school reunion.
bet.
That was June. It burned all the way through Jefferson County and really took out a lot of stuff.
I think they're trying to leave us here.
We'll stay with them. We get lost.
Oh, they opened the gate for us here.
Well, that's
We're gonna
good.
go back around.
Yep.
Are we going to go around?
Probably.
Around through the rest
Yeah,
of the
eventually we'll.
Instead-
Do you need a restroom?
Oh, well, we'll go. Is that where the rest of the ladies are heading? Yeah, I can do
I don't
that.
know if it is, but it's probably a good idea after coffee in the morning.
Yeah, I think so. Great big glass of water plus.
Yeah.
So let's go do a potty stop.
All right,
and then
so let's
we'll-
do that. I know where to send you for that one. One of the things that they put in when they redid the mansion
of course,
in
we
2011-12, they put in some lovely bathrooms downstairs.
Two.
Two of them.
Yeah, I
And
would
an
imagine-
elevator.
Oh, there's an elevator too. Well,
Elevator in between to get upstairs.
for the people like Sarah that are
Sure.
in a,
Yeah, it's a struggle to go
and
up
there'd be a
the,
lot of people.
be a struggle to go up the grand staircase.
Yeah.
All right, if you want to do that now, we can just
Yeah.
head you in the right direction.
Anybody want to do a potty stop? We're going to do that for a short minute.
All right. Yeah, I'm just doing pictures.
Okay, so it sounds like our agreement is we're gonna stay inside then for now and then.
Whichever works. I'm
Okay.
very flexible.
All right, so before we go back into something that you guys wouldn't have known about during your time, is during the renovations, they tore off the ceiling here and did all that kind of stuff. And as part of tearing off the ceiling, they found something on the, etched into the rocks. See the black and that white? Can you see what that says?
No, I can't read it. What does it say?
It's hard to read.
Yeah.
Oh, up there,
The black
it's
says,
R-O-T, Roth,
yes,
Oh,
Roth.
Rotherwood. Exactly, and underneath it, which is even harder to see, it says S. Allen Long.
Yeah.
And that's why they left that nice little hole there in the roof there, so that you could see that nobody knew that existed, because it had been covered up for all those years with the ceiling.
Yeah.
If you pull in a little bit closer and then look way up underneath the window there, you'll see the date, 1891. So everyone has known that. Were you guys aware of the 1891 date when you were here? Okay. So I guess the historians and all for years, they had known about the 1891 date, and they were attributing it to who they thought was the first owner and the builder, the initial builder of the mansion, which was Springer. Only with the addition of finding that new information, Rotherwood, and with the beauty of computers and being able to quickly search and everything, they discovered who originally started the mansion then, who was Samuel Allen Long. He was from Pennsylvania. Rotherwood was the name of a boyhood home in Pennsylvania. So we added a new owner and a new name to the mansion. So everyone was so excited about.
So this was the oldest part of the
This
house?
was the oldest part. When we get inside, you'll see a picture of the original building. They had known that Samuel Allen Long was out here. He had filed a homestead for something like 40 acres. And they had a picture of the house, but there was no identifying like mountains or anything in the background where they could specifically locate it. So they knew he was in northern Douglas County, and then again, that just kind of, really tied a new owner to the house and made everything so exciting. So we call this now the Rotherwood entrance.
Okay, very good.
And this is the main entrance now that we have.
As I recall, we
everybody.
came out the tour when they were getting to the wall, and they really did find a difference of some.
Yeah,
It was almost-
archways and.
Well, it was almost like just what the Romans would do, they kind of build a wall, and they just
Yes.
put rubble in it.
Yeah, and in fact, you'll see that inside, because that was during the renovation, then they left some of that exposed, so that you, just like they left that
Yeah, that's
exposed. So
cool.
you can kind of see the history of it. So everyone's excited about the Rotherwood entrance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and when they cleaned up the inside, did they find some hidden passageways around the pool room area?
No?
Yes,
Yes, did they?
yes.
Oh,
I think
Mark,
so. My
Mark
sister
knows
remembers
about
The
it.
the pool room is the office.
Uh-huh. You
And
mean
you-
this office in here?
Yeah. No, the
The room,
The paneled
between
room.
the dining room and,
Oh, right.
and the west
They,
room.
they used to call that the pool room.
Oh,
Had a
the pool table,
Yeah,
right,
Quite
okay.
cool there. occasionally.
So between that and the living room,
Yeah.
you know about the doors.
Oh, I know about the doors,
That's what
yeah.
he's referring to.
Oh,
But there
okay.
was some way to get up onto the roof. Because
You know-
with my cousin, when we were like 10 years old,
Yeah.
we ended up getting on the roof and running back and
So
forth.
you
along that high
actually
ridge
did
line.
it from there?
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's stairs, there were like.
A little
levels.
back stairs or
Yeah,
something,
back stairs
yeah.
going up.
Oh, how fun, because I've seen that, and you've seen that,
Yeah.
and now it's closed, we don't, you know what we're afraid of now? Is that with all of the parties and
Oh, yeah.
drinking and all
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
they don't want anyone to open that, try to
Yeah.
climb up and get stuck.
Yeah,
Yes.
and
So-
our worst get up and run down the ridge
Yeah.
because they're drunk falling off. And we were worried about falling off being little kids, you know, like,
Right.
we didn't think very well.
Right, so we don't really even publicize that at all.
Okay.
We don't. All right, let's head on in.
Oh, very good, thank you.
Head on in.
So it's really neat that we got the Rotherwood story.
Yeah. Now, did you guys get the brochures? Let me get brochures for you all, and you can use them, not use them as we go. Let's just kind of start in here real quickly.
There's a large picture of that.
Yeah, the Arapahoe Wood.
Left my other glasses in the car.
I fought a boxing match on a 4th of July party out here with my uncle, who was only 1 year older when we were like 10 and 11 or something
Out on the
like
lawn?
that. Yeah, and he died a long time ago from kidney failure, and so he and I lived down there, and he still lived here before his mother had divorced my grandfather. But anyway, he kind of led me on by letting me kind of beat him. We would practice sparring, and then when the actual boxing match took place, I'm surprised they allowed it. You know, a couple of little kids get out there. He got very aggressive and pummeled me for the first 2 rounds. It was in the circle. The grass was in the middle of that turnaround circle. And by the 4th round or the 3rd round, I was so ticked off, my anger came back, so I kind of pummeled him on the 3rd round, but he won the match.
Oh, good, so you probably heard that already.
Yeah, I've heard all these stories, but it's all kind of coming together.
Did I ask you if you remembered if Marion Morgan lived there until she died?
And I didn't know the answer to that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, and this is grandfather.
Yeah, she lived to be 102 or 103, yeah.
So one of the activities they do here these days is they've tried doing outdoor movies if the weather cooperates. And in this case, it's Die Hard, where they bring in some rock bands and perform until, for a couple hours before until it gets dark.
Yep.
And then they'll show an outdoor movie. Typically up on the lawn out there next to the house.
Yeah.
They've had 3 of them this summer, I think.
Okay, so this is a very new thing then.
This is a new thing. This is the first year they've tried that.
Yep.
And it's, I think, been moderately successful. The first one they did, the weather was typical Colorado stormy.
Yep.
And I didn't think they were going to get it in, or they would have had to have moved it inside. As most of the events that are here for outside, you need to have a plan B because of the weather. I've talked to people who've been married here,
Yep.
where the rain came at the wrong time, and so what was going to be an outdoor wedding became an indoor wedding. But then the mansion staff, of course, has got to be pretty flexible about all that.
That's kind of neat, it's used for weddings.
And other events,
All of us
other
and our
events.
children, none of us were the right age.
Yeah. But that big party room made that
They keep the hounds
Yeah.
possible to do that.
Yeah.
off of this way.
Certainly bigger groups could accommodate, and even then, there's a limitation, I think, on the size of the people who can be here just because of the amount of on-street parking, if you will. They still want to keep good relationships with the neighbors that are fairly close.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I'm told there's about 250 acres here
Yep.
on the mansion property itself.
Actually, the closest houses are the ones right across the gateway.
And they're actually, the street names, if you've ever been by those, are named after, typically in many cases, people who lived here.
Yeah, I know there's a Phipps and the other, a Springer, and then I didn't recognize the other couple of
Got a
names.
park, depends which ones you saw, but there's Kistler and there's
Oh,
Sarah.
Kistler, yeah.
And there's, there's a Kistler, and there's a Sarah, and there's,
So this is your
I don't remember them now, but there's some connections. Yeah, to lots of them that are there,
Mark,
Yes.
Paul, can you get that picture down
probably.
up there?
I
We
have a
want
little-
to ID that one.
I would say,
Oh,
that's obviously,
Well, we think this is Lawrence Phipps II,
no, there's, yeah, that's no doubt, yeah. That's it.
and we're not sure who that is.
That was
may
either
be-
another guy that was an early hunt person,
Yeah.
and they had
Here, I'll let you hold
they
that.
had a huntsman for only about a
Should
year or
hold
two
that
that
for a
was
bit.
from,
Yeah, thank
who
you.
was from overseas and
That must have
before
been him.
George took over.
Yeah, well, that's before George Beeman, so this must be like in 37.
Probably. That would be my guess. I mean,
Yeah, like here, that's George Beeman.
Yep.
That's
and
Marvin
this
on
is
the far
Marvin,
left. Yeah.
and my guess is that's Hildegard Neal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got those, and that's definitely a World War II picture because of the military camp.
Because of what?
The military camp.
Interesting.
Mark,
Yeah.
I had never noticed that before, had you?
No.
The military man, I never
No.
noticed that.
Yeah.
You did?
This is one that Marvin might be able to identify.
Yeah.
That
Well, we're
because
gonna
he's
see him
been always
next
so much
month.
more on the hunt end than I have. That you'd have a much.
Are you aware he's going to be talking at a September program of the Historical Society? I think September 16th, is that right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Nancy?
That's-
Both
and that's here?
Lawrence, both
At South-
Lawrence
no, at
and
Southridge.
Marvin are gonna do that.
Okay, I'll let you finish it.
Let you guys get on that one.
Yeah. Nancy, this program is at Southridge, is it not?
Second, but then they don't
Yes,
know the other.
we're hoping to have it here at the mansion, but they haven't given us approval on that.
So for now, Southridge, unless you hear
Susie, you're
otherwise.
right.
but
Here's the
He's going to talk about the Arapaho Hunt Club and
Yes.
Lawrence Phipps
Right.
III, who's going to talk about the 70s, the decade
70s,
of
yes.
the decade of transition.
And we'll see that when
Yes.
we're in the big room in there.
Yeah.
But that's where everything happened. He was running the ranch. His dad became ill in the mid-70s, got sold to Marvin Davis. Then the thing got sold a couple years later to
Mission
Mission
Viejo.
Viejo. And then things changed from being a private family-run ranch to a community
Yeah.
that was being developed.
Because when, Mission Viejo took over, they started.
And
First
in
building.
between all that in 78 or whatever, this property was empty. And the NBC miniseries people, Centennial came out here and used this for some of the
That was
location
filmed
shoot
in
scenes.
1978.
I believe so.
Wow.
And I-
Michener's book Centennial came out in 75, I
Yes,
believe.
sure.
Yeah, and Carolyn Smith
Mm-hmm.
told me that Tweed Kimball didn't want to use Johnson Castle, so
Right.
they got permission to.
Yep, that's correct.
All right, let's come on down this
Okay.
way. Are you going to point something out?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. See, here was the.
I was living in Greeley at the time, and they were filming up there too.
Yeah, they filmed lots of places, but I know the scenes that were filmed here because I watched all 12
Our
hours.
house is right here.
I recognize.
Isn't that simple? And this was all before it was obviously developed, right?
Something like that.
There was nothing around. I mean, is that amazing? Where is that big picture with nothing around? It's just-
Well, let me see if I could,
And then, Mark, that would have been the next entrance.
probably.
And then this was the grand entrance that Springer, remember he, after his first wife died, Eliza, he married a trophy wife, Isabel, hence the murder at the Brown Palace person. And so he wanted, of course, to make the palace, or make this area grand. They did a lot of entertaining and everything. So this was meant to be a nice, big, grand entrance. Yes, and I said, wouldn't it be nice if we all had castles named after us? Castle Nancy, Castle Suzanne? Not so. And I think there has been, about 5 or 6 fireplaces throughout, so we'll see several of them as we go. One of a recurring theme that we saw, and I'm sure that you guys probably had talked about it too, is we see the Scottish rose in many places. So you see it here, you see it on the grates of the for the heating. Beautiful carvings on the crown molding, and it's different in all of the rooms. So it truly is a very beautiful. Come on in.
Now, is this the original parquet floor?
That's still a bathroom.
Yeah, better ones.
Oh, yeah.
Now this here too. If you take your time with Samuel and Mom, and then Springer added this on, and maybe Mark knows the date that this was added on, but we do have a picture, one of these pictures here where it shows that this was a window, so this would have been an outside area too. So things kept changing. fireplaces, the location of the fireplace kept changing. This is a beautiful clock. It's not quite working right now. It's a German clock mechanism. And just recently, we actually got it working for the first time. Was it working when you guys were here?
Oh, yeah.
Was it?
Yep.
It had not been working for years and years and years.
You probably rusted through during
Probably.
that long.
But that's part of the renovation then afterwards, and they had sent that out. And so every 15 minutes when it would chime, it would all be quiet, just to go, it's working now. And while you guys were here, did you ever translate the Tuscan dialect of Latin that was around the thing? Come on over and see. I can't speak Latin. What does it say? Something like Vesine, Il
It's actually
Tempo?
not Latin, it's Italian.
Oh, that's right.
Because it came from the book Dante's Inferno. And it's a direct quote out of that book.
So by putting that into the computer, they were able to translate it, and it was time passes and man perceives it not, which is kind of, so that's another recent finding, if you will.
And my translation of that is time flies.
Yeah.
That would be contemporary.
Yeah.
And I notice you have a lovely Italian tapestry.
Right. And again, none of these were original. Our understanding is these are not original.
And
But
everybody was able.
So this is what Phillips had for a fireplace and for decor. In fact, this is Elliot. This was taken in the early 20s. This is Elliot Phillips, who is his oldest child. Interestingly, he just died around 2009 at a very advanced age. And there's an audio history of here on a website called Voices of Oklahoma talking about his time in the Phillips family growing up. That's a real pony.
right here in the room.
But notice how different the fireplace looks here, 1920, from the fireplace that Kistler had redone just a few years later.
So it's just kind of fun, you know, and that's what we've been, Jeff Case, the mansion and all, is they try to take all these different pictures, piece together some of the architecture and all that. Come on over and let's look at the fireplace.
This is what it looked like when I came up here with Carolyn, and here's where, this is probably Kistler too.
That's Kistler's.
And it looks like this is going through now.
Yes.
So that-
Dining room and pool room.
and
it's
even
built
the
there.
steps going out. No,
And that's what Phillips, this is what Phillips had.
Yep.
You can notice how western that looks.
Yep.
The story we heard was, and we're not sure this is true, but the story we heard is that Kistler engaged a local architect named J.B. Benedict, and they drew up plans and that thing, and he almost thought that he would build kind of an Italian country home. We're told that the plans don't exactly match what actually got built here. Do you have any insight into that?
no.
Uh-uh.
No,
But in
actually,
either case,
we didn't even know about the Kistlers. Interestingly enough, until I went and talked to my Aunt Diney and Joni, way back because they were friends with the Kistler girls.
yeah.
And I got filled in a lot.
But it's kind of like all of us, you know, just in our normal houses, you know, if you're not the original owner, do you really care who the previous owner was?
No.
You know, you live there, it's your house.
I think Kistler had disappeared into the woodwork by the time we were old enough.
He had actually gone to Glenwood Springs. And in the 1940 census, he was operating the Hotel Colorado,
Which is so
the hot
famous,
springs
you know?
routine.
Okay, so he was,
He went to Glenwood. He also tried to found Redstone, the community, and then in the 50s, he died abruptly, I think in the 60s actually. I saw his gravestone actually 2 weeks ago in Rosebud Cemetery by the Roaring Fork River, just south of Glenwood Springs. Yeah. And that's where I think one of his other daughters is buried as well.
Okay.
Different cemetery, but
I love
that area.
that. Anybody who had historic period furniture donated it to Metro, and that's where they got these furnishings from.
Yeah, the
When-
story we
when
heard
keep
was the
talking,
family
my mom
cleared
has-
everything out.
My mother has the original sea chest that stood right against this wall right here. And we're talking seriously about taking that and her picture like Joni's and putting them here.
Cool. Yeah, cool.
So we can, just like you have Joni's picture up in the room where she actually
Sure.
stayed
Yeah.
as a teenager, because
Well,
she was the
yep.
youngest of the girls.
And Okay, so
Who's this guy? I think he's just an old guy.
Yeah.
I think that's just an old picture.
In fact, that probably dates from the 30s
Yeah, I
before
was gonna say,
grandfather
that predates everything.
bought the place.
Huh.
Let's see, all that, the Doug David.
so, anybody know who these ladies are?
Which ones?
Looks like 30s.
Oh, look at
Looking at the cars,
Shorthorn
yeah.
Senior Champion Bull, Diamond K Ranch.
Yeah,
That would have been Kistler.
1929.
Kistler.
Again, Kistler also bred sheep here too, and chickens, as well as horses and cattle. So he was showing at the National Western Stock Show like any good stock cattleman would be at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And so this was.
Aren't these neat
the
pictures?
major diamond.
Or I guess not pictures, but announcements.
And for those of you who didn't notice, the bookcase conveniently has a copy of Centennial,
Oh, yeah, good. It
So
should.
what did you
which it
call-
should.
And what did you call this room? You called it the pool room?
Billiard room, we had a great
You
big.
called it the billiard room.
Well, we
Billiard
called it the pool
or the
room,
pool
but it
room?
had a pool table, billiard
We had
table.
a pool table and the boys played.
And
Dee
look-
Dee always played with grandfather when she came out here with grandfather.
And Michael said that he thought it was like probably a Tiffany light that was hanging here.
Well, a great big something. so
Great
you
big
could see.
something for the,
Yeah, you see the central figure and then right over the middle.
Right, right, yeah.
So when they did the restoration, of course, they did these ones, which made it very nice because they've changed.
right. And they purposely have kept it wide open here so that, you know, with crowds. And one of the nice things too with minimal furniture is they can move.
They have artificial plants that goes, I bet these, they have real live plants.
Palms, so big palms, I bet like.
Yeah, we always have.
There's some
great
photos on the easel down at the end there too.
big- Yeah, a great big philodendron, a real live. Oh, look. Here.
Now, we're told that the light fixtures were original. Do you recall these?
I don't think we paid attention. That looks familiar.
And we're told that the curtain rods are original in that pattern on the end.
Oh, ho, ho. And I know Laney did some redecorating in here at one point when we took out the polar bear rug.
Oh, yeah.
Because the polar bear rug was here, and when she did her redo of this room, the polar bear rug went, and we had curtains.
They were heavy, were they?
Well, they were very definitely in this kind of garden style, whether these are Laney curtains. I'm wondering if they don't date
There's
from-
pictures down
There are some
there.
pictures there also.
Yeah,
When they made the furniture up, they took a look at the curtain rod holder at the top pattern and they tried to match that in the pattern of the upholstery.
oh, yeah, the little Greek, yeah, the Greek, look, see? I guess you call this the Greek fresco.
Susanna,
Yeah.
let me give you this before I drop it.
Oh, okay.
George had to take Billy into the ladies' room.
50th wedding
Okay.
some anniversary.
Oh, this would be another place to
Stairs
have.
out there are new.
Really?
Renovation.
Is
Is that still a bedroom and bath back there?
And that's
Yes, you'll see that in there.
Well, that was part of the commission.
So we're told that if this was built in the early 30s, the Yule quarry in marble was open at that point. We're told that this marble came from the same quarry. At the time they were cutting the rock for the unknown soldier, tomb of the unknown soldier in Washington.
Yes, right.
Huge rock at the time. And we're told, since this was built about the same time, that this marble may have come from that quarry. It would stand to reason that it might have.
So this is the one, the quarry up in Marble, Colorado?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, which is now closed, but
Yeah.
we were just there a couple weeks ago.
And do you remember, for your story, we had an Easter egg hunt in here one year because it was so cold at Easter, and it might have been early. So they hid the eggs in here, and I was here when we found an egg up
in the
the
chimney?
flue, and I was there when it got opened.
That's good for you.
So if you've never had,
We tell two stories of this place. We are told that the kids would like to roller skate in here.
always outside, on the outside,
but never in here?
I-
And we're told that,
Laney would never permit that.
okay. And we're told
Outside.
that that the adults had their ballroom dances in here.
Well, I don't know that Laney ever entertained and had a ball in her life. This is what I've been telling everybody. They never, ever entertained here, except for grandfather's birthday. Gosh, when I have a picture of my daughter who was at least junior high at that time. And we had a big party for grandfather. It was sort of done by my mother and Diney and Jimmy. And we did have that kind of event. But Laney never entertained.
Not her thing.
Well, it wasn't her thing, and because of her health problems and all that sort of thing, she just didn't. So that's why I came up here to visit Mabrit Nelson, who is the Nelson's daughter, and so I got in more here. But my cousin Dee Dee, do talk to her when she comes, because she will be telling you, because she was really tight with grandfather and Laney. She spent a whole summer out on their boat at Catalina, and came back and would always come up to visit them when she ever could, even when she was married, divorced, all that sort of thing. She has lived in the Denver area, I think, for a number of years. And still doing so. That's Diane. That's my cousin Dee Dee. Diney had 2 children, John and Dee Dee.
Okay, and Jeannie, do you have a contact for Jeannie?
You mean Dee Dee?
Jeannie.
Dee Dee, D-I-D-I.
B-I-D.
Because her real name was Diana. I have that all down. I have to write that down. I have all of that.
Yeah, do you have a way to contact her?
Sure. And she's going to be coming with her daughter and their family. They live in Fort Morgan. And I told her about these special family tours because Carrie works, and they couldn't do the public tours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. But she does get Fridays off and particularly weekends off, and so with knowing that you do private family tours, she's going to do that. And she's planning to do that as soon as she can.
Sounds good.
I was talking.
One other question for you.
Yeah.
Let me move you over here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the picture with somebody in it. Mark had a question for me, and I dropped my.
Here's my question for you. This brown structure out there, do you have any color of what that would have been?
Chin,
Yeah,
where are you?
right here.
Because I always remember that big round thing being there, but I
That was a
don't.
well.
Was that a well?
That was a well.
Oh, yeah.
We were told by the people who did the reconstruction in 2011 that they saw some signs that might have been a barbecue pit.
Somebody may have made it that, but I
It might
remember
have,
being
you remember it being a well?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you remember the picture of the very first house that was built here, the A-frame? There's a well,
There's
a windmill right
windmill
behind it.
well,
And that
yes.
might have been that
So it might have been that.
location.
And that is right, that's where the pool was.
Yeah, and the pool had been out
The
there.
little, I
Right.
call it the koi pond because it's
Yeah.
about the size of it. I don't remember what they had in it.
Oh, they had fish occasionally, but
They had some kind of fish.
Okay. So not a swimming pool per se.
No,
but a
more of a
swimming pool
quiet
was
pond.
built later on
Yeah.
by Lawrence's third wife, Elaine.
but that was a swimming, one of those endless swimming pools. wasn't it?
I don't remember what it was. I just know it was probably out
That
for
was
that
Elaine
further
Oaks.
along with.
Elaine Oaks.
Yeah,
Yeah, Elaine Oaks.
Yeah.
we call her Laney.
Laney,
We
right.
always
I
call her
assumed that,
Laney.
yeah.
So this is why I wrote a name like Diana Hart Riley,
Keen,
known
Braden.
as Dee Dee.
Okay.
And you know, my mother's name was Mimi. Her name was Mary Hart, but we called her M-I, Mimi. So we got Mimi's and Dee Dee's and Diney's. I mean, because just like I use Suzy, S-U-Z-Y. Okay, and I got sophisticated when I went into high school. I became Susan with a Z. Yeah.
And what are you officially? Susan, Suzanne, Susanna?
Susanna, S-U-Z-A-N-N-A. My grandfather until he died, because he came from Kentucky, spelled it S-U-S-A-N-N-A-H, the way Stephen Foster spelled it.
My old Kentucky home.
My old Kentucky home. But because my older cousin, John R. Wiley, was born in France, and Diney was there at the time, the French spell it S-U-Z-A-N-N-E, and it's pronounced Suzanne. Okay? But because my grandfather, it had to be Suzanne okay, so that's why I'm S-U-Z-A-N-N-A. So I always have to explain that. It's sort of like, remember Liza Minnelli? Spelled as Liza with a Z.
Oh, yeah.
I always used to say Susanna with a Z. Because people will always spell it, even Susan, S-U-S-A-N instead of S-U-Z.
Well, and it makes it a little bit more unique here.
Oh, yes. And never ask people how they spell Caroline, because when it comes to people's names, they will spell it as weirdly as they possibly can.
We need to move on. Have you guys seen everything, or?
Yeah, they're still discussing the current. But see the
You saw
polar
these
bear,
pictures?
see the polar bear
Polar
rug?
bears in one, yeah.
And the real live plants they had here. Doesn't show the philodendron, which I'm sure is right up there, where you can see the water spots.
Do you recall the marble wallpaper? Or was that later?
I'm wondering, because see, is this post? Well, this is,
This is before the reconstruction.
okay. And so that meant
So
all
when they redid the
all
room,
of
they probably ripped this
Laney's,
down.
yeah, if I remember, Laney had some kind of rattan furniture in here. When she redid it. See this one,
Well, that's still not really tan, but
and I can't tell if these are
Can't
real
tell.
pots, no.
Yeah.
But my era is definitely with the polar
That
bear
one.
rug. And so that would have been definitely pre-Laney redo. Now look at the window coverings here, but you can see the curtain rods, so you can't see the end pieces on there. Can you? Oh yes, well here, but see, this might have been a post. I don't remember that. I don't remember. This, as I said, she had some rattan kind of things. Let me check with Chan and the rest of it, because we all kind of remember the Laney redo.
do you have any memory of the sconces on either side?
No.
The ones with the dragons?
Of course, this was
That's a great deal. So
Yeah.
it's very popular. That's why this afternoon there's a wedding. And that's why they're kicking
So
us out.
do you recall anything about these?
no.
No? Okay.
I'm thinking they just said these are very period, these are very fitting, this kind of decor. If I were a decorator,
Well,
and
the-
I saw those any place, I would pick them up.
These are original.
Are they?
Yeah,
Here's where they are.
the Aladdin lamps and the chain
Yeah,
style.
we're just wondering if you had any recollection of
And the
them.
lights
No,
up here.
kids would notice
Yeah,
stuff
they
like
No.
that.
No.
Kids would not notice stuff like that.
Not that high, huh?
Yeah, but now when we take the kids on the tours, they love it. You know, because the kids know like the Aladdin Disney movie
Yeah.
and all
And
that.
of course, I bet this was
So let's
very
do a
original.
quick thing here. We'll get you guys upstairs.
The card room.
Card room? Yeah.
Yep, this is, oh boy, does this ever look,
Masculine.
yeah,
Yeah.
and very much
The fireplace in the mirror original. This is where the groom's party hangs out on weddings, so they gave him a reasonable
addressing, yeah,
sized
that, I
mirror.
bet they just, yeah. It seems
Upstairs,
like-
the bride gets a bigger one.
Oh, where do they dress the brides?
Upstairs.
We'll show you.
I'll show you. I'm
So this-
assuming that that the light fixture is not original.
That's new.
Yeah, sure, that, they just picked that really looks good.
That looks like
Did you guys
Jackson,
ever do anything
Wyoming.
in these rooms down here?
Outside of maybe going to the bathroom or doing something.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, David.
Okay.
We're gonna have to leave to say this.
Hey, thank you for being such a brave trooper here, Sarah. So, yeah, but I do know that when you got something like that, pretty soon the pain takes over. Yeah, but this is interesting to know this is the groom's room.
Will keep in touch with me?
Sure will.
Okay. Thank you for coming, David and Sarah.
What was this room?
This is called the card room. It's where the men after dinner would come down and play cards and argue about politics and smoke cigars, drink the brandies. Now, when they have a wedding, the bride's party is upstairs prior to the wedding. The groom's party is here. They're physically separated by a lot.
Thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. So they put in the widescreen TV and whatever on the wall there. For them, this bathroom is working here also.
So this is the part, remember, that from the outside you would have driven up, and this was the outside. where you
And
can
here's
park
the
and
garden,
things
oh,
like
the
that.
garden gate. Look at the garden gate.
Now, with that gate, and Mark, isn't that what you, this was the original front door?
We think that might have been
That's what we
in
think.
the living room, in the front door.
But we had a garden gate that went into the garden just outside.
Yeah, there's a wrought iron gate there before.
Okay.
Was it wrought iron? I thought it was.
Well, this looks
Solid.
like an interior door,
It
so
does.
that's what we think is that it might have been,
The original before
And then we
that.
had
Right, before the
remember
window.
they had the screen porch?
So I always liked for effect that this one, if you came up 18 miles from downtown Denver and you would announce yourself, big loud knocker.
Here.
I don't remember that being at the front door. Does it swing the same way as the front door does?
Well, it's not the front door. We believe it would have been in what is now a window in the middle of the living room.
Wow, that would have been
We,
before.
it
my
measures
grandmother
to fit
bought
there.
that.
Talk about, we didn't call attention to the fact that Kistler's main entrance was right opposite his fireplace.
Right.
Yeah,
And
that
we
was-
think this
right.
would have been the
That-
front door at that
Yes,
time.
yes.
It's now a window, but the measurements fit.
Okay. So,
And the people, when they did the reconstruction, said they were reusing parts.
yeah.
So we believe it may have been the front door at one point.
At Kistler, and then when they repurposed and made the tower room again,
Right.
the front door, they said, oh, this is
Right.
too classic and too neat, repurpose it.
Yeah, I
And if you did measure it,
Yeah,
For
we
the
did measure
Kistler
it. It fits the window opening.
oh, it does.
Yeah.
And this is all new in here then? This
Oh,
has
yeah.
just been the last 2 years. They added about another
You can
5,000
see the back
square
of the
feet.
old garage.
Exactly, and doesn't that look beautiful back there?
nice
I mean,
garage.
yeah, it's a lovely area. So we have still have the 4-bay garage, and then there's still 2 more bays over there, and that's what they use for the catering kitchen. And so between that and in here, so the official kitchen, I guess, would have been in this section of the house, correct? And that's all just being.
There was a screen porch. And then there was the servants' dining room.
Okay, Georgia, come on.
Oh, look, here's the old icebox.
Yes, here's the old icebox. And we should probably have lights in here somewhere.
Just create some lights.
No, we can open it from this side here. Come over here and take a peek. It's just, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I have no real recollection of that other than coming around something here to get to the original back door into the kitchen.
Yeah. And this was the courtyard
Yep.
out here. People could just back right up.
Yeah, that's what we hear, is that they just back the ice things up. You know, and apparently they would store the ice up there then,
Yep.
for the cold to come down. And Marvin was telling us, at one point he got locked in there for like an hour. They had gone elk hunting, and he was hanging the elk, and somehow the door closed, and thank goodness someone rescued him.
Oh my, we would have had frozen Mark.
Frozen Marvin, yeah. So yeah, we don't get to, this is just for the staff.
Yeah, and I see the stairway, I used to go up to see Maybrit Nelson by going up the
Yeah, when we get
circular
upstairs, we'll show you, you can, we don't let the regular people go there, but I think we can.
We could actually show it through here.
You can?
Yeah.
Is the door open there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's right here.
See, this would have been the old
It's right here.
servants' dining room here.
We're told that there was a there's a cellar in the basement.
And Carolyn
And
and
it
I
goes to
went
the
down.
upstairs.
Yeah, the raw footage
Yeah.
that Carolyn and I got with the guy from the KCOT, or I mean, the public television. They actually went down the stairs and took a picture of all the electrical stuff down in the basement.
So that would have been for the staff.
Yeah, this is the staff going up to their rooms and down to the electrical connections underneath.
But we'll use the regular stairs to go up, it's easier.
We'll use the elevator.
We get to
Or the
go up the
elevator.
ground staircase, but this is.
We can do that. We can also do the elevator if somebody
Can,
wishes.
the ones that want to take the stairs can take the stairs, the
Yes,
ones that want
let's
to take the
go,
elevator?
let's go
Yes.
do that.
Go up the- You want to go up the other stairs?
Yeah,
We go up, or the elevator, either
Oh,
one.
no, I'll use this.
Either one.
But you don't
Okay.
want us to use these stairs.
So we know where that is.
But Carolyn and I got through all of that stuff, and I've
Yeah.
got that raw footage. Gregory, did Michael ever give you that raw footage tape? Of what? Of my tour in '09? Michael was supposed to bring it to you, because I left it with him and Natalie. It looks like he never got it to you, and you and Patty never got a chance to see it. I need to find your connections so we can duplicate this raw footage that Caroline Smith and
Yeah.
I did in '09.
I'll coordinate it through Nancy then.
Okay, yeah, I do need to, because I would like everybody in the family to have that.
Sure.
And definitely your historical society,
Okay.
because that has Caroline in it. And of course, she has this one. This is the old butler.
Now tell me the story of why they have a banker's safe there.
That's where we kept the silver.
Kistler
All
put
the-
that in?
No, I don't
Or
know
who did?
whether
It was
Kistler
already
did
here
it
when you were
or-
here?
Yeah, I'm sure it was already here, so we always kept pictures on the
This is Kistler's. It looks like the main house is here, and there's a grate before the west wing.
I know. I think it's an optical illusion.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
And the hostess sat right there, and she said, "You read it, Janet." But as I said, the only time I remember was that special.
You said Laney didn't do big dinners, huh?
No, she never
maybe
did. That's
people
why
did
I'm
before
saying
that.
it's when, the only time.
We saw a picture there were 16 chairs at a table, so we figured that perhaps someone who lived here did.
Oh, I'm sure that
Large
dates from
entertainment.
Kistler who did.
might
Francis
have-
Kistler was
yeah.
a really big show
Yeah.
dog. So I'm sure the dining room and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
is all-
Did you know either Florence or his second wife?
My
Leona?
mother, as I said, was the
Would
friends
have
of
known
the
that?
daughters.
Yeah.
And Florence, was she the second wife? Yeah, she's the one.
Leona was the second.
Wife, and
Florence
that's
was
what-
the first wife of
Kistler and
Julia and
somebody
couple
else.
other-
And then the
Sarah and somebody
second
else.
wife, yeah,
Yeah.
and then the second wife
she had a
had,
couple of stepsons.
yeah, well, I thought Kistler
Or
was
she had a
so
couple
partial.
others, yeah.
I think Kistler was so partial to his little boy. That came, I thought, from the second marriage. Check with my Aunt Dinah.
He had
Joni.
two stepsons from
Oh.
the second marriage.
Okay, she had,
Yeah, he had two of those.
yeah, he wanted some boys and
He
he
wanted
had
some
only.
boys, right.
Yeah, and you only had girls, so being a man at
Right.
that time, you have to have heirs, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
And it was a very male-dominated,
Yep,
and this, of course, is just
Yeah.
directly out into the,
directly out.
oh, this is so
You want to take the
interesting.
staircase or the stairway?
Oh, yeah,
Or-
I'm very
okay.
able to take
So
the,
the story we hear is that Springer built this grand staircase to impress his second wife, Isabel Patterson.
oh, yes.
In the
And
first
her-
decade of the 1900s.
And
The
the
grand-
grand sitting room.
The
up
grand
here.
sitting room up
This
here.
was her receiving room,
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because if he didn't have, or maybe, yeah, this was hers He had his hunting friends downstairs.
downstairs in the card room, and they came up here.
Yeah, and the ladies came up here for tea. That's one of the servants' access.
And plus the bedrooms.
Yeah.
Well, I remember when they had that really big TV up there.
Oh, you want it?
This is about as far as we're allowed to go because then that was where their bedroom was.
Yeah, and I never got to actually go into their bedroom until I came with Caroline.
Okay.
We
Well,
always
that's where
used to race up and down this.
I imagine. I'm told there was carpet.
I'm remembering
You remember hardwood or carpet?
carpet. I'm remembering carpet.
We were told there was carpet, but the stories we were told was that they might have had oil lamps or something. And up and down we see some discoloration,
That would probably be water from floods.
but it's at periodic intervals. So the story they thought was it might have been an oil lamp dripping down.
Ooh, yeah.
So maybe. But,
This would have been the governess's room.
well,
And
here's what we were
now
wondering
remember
about.
the pictures with the canopy beds? Oh, look,
Yes.
see. In fact, I
Now,
see.
2 bedrooms combined into 1 for a meeting room here.
Yeah, and seminar rooms in there too.
So here's a question for you.
What?
This bedroom, or this bathroom,
It's the children's.
is children's. It's kind of a Jack and Jill, and it's children height sinks. I was told by somebody that they had this built for the 2 stepsons of
Kistler.
Leona,
Yeah,
the second wife.
yeah. Because
Though-
they would,
though-
and that's
though
why
they
they
were
had the
boys.
governess's room
Yes.
and the kids' room.
So you think the governess was here, or the kids were here?
There, and this was the closet where you could come up from the Heidi cupboard. I don't know what it is now.
Locked
It's
now.
locked
Yeah,
now,
locked
so
now.
that's what makes me
Okay.
think that that's about where the Heidi cupboard comes up.
Could be then.
Because, not John R. would be able to answer that if he ever comes.
So here they took 2 bedrooms and made 1
And
conference
I can
room.
see they
Same
did
thing
the
over
same
there.
there,
Same
yeah.
thing over there. There's,
Because see, you hold seminars and
Yes.
things like that here.
that's correct.
So this would be the perfect space for seminars. It certainly would.
We've had meetings in these.
Yeah,
We
here's-
assumed that maybe these were closets, or there's a plumbing outlet there that might have been a bathroom. Possible, don't know.
I'm sure that there would have been.
There's a hole in the wall there, that could have been a plumbing thing.
Yeah. But you see, this is where they keep their extra chairs
Right.
and their audio
And
visual.
maybe these were closets originally, don't know.
Audio, yeah.
Since none of the bedrooms had closets. They were all off to the side or in the bathroom or wherever they would be.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if they didn't have armoires. If we can, remember seeing the one with the canopy bed, the picture with the canopy
Yeah.
bed? And those were here when we were children. All those canopy beds were, I don't remember if we tried sleeping on them, but they were so different for us
I'll bet.
that, because by the time we were kids, the Hollywood bed was in. And so we thought the canopy beds were really neat.
Yep.
At least I did.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me.
I'll have to ask Chan about the carpet.
Yeah, because we see these things occasionally, and we thought maybe there was a light.
And they had a great big
We couldn't get it
flood.
down.
They had a great big flood here when grandfather was away at the war. So there was a period of, when did he go in, 44, 43, didn't get out until 45. And I know that they had a plumbing thing, so I'll ask Chan. Here, this is
It's
the
probably out of order. Is this, Joan over here?
That's John,
It is, okay.
taken in, painted in 26.
Oh, well, you know when those are painted, then we know when my mother's were painted.
That was painted in 26, Joan at a fairly young age.
Yeah.
Yeah, very,
Early,
very young, and my
maybe even-
mother
maybe
was
even
the oldest.
preteen.
See, my mother go to bed, they were 2 years apart. My
Yeah.
mother, 14, died at 16, and Joan maybe 18.
Yeah, she looked a little younger then, but at 26.
Well, 26
My
from
understanding that
16.
she just died recently in January.
Just this last January.
January.
So if she would have been 10, 11 in that picture, because
Yeah.
if she was born in 16 and this was painted in
26.
26, that would make her 10, 11
Would
years
be.
old. See, so that's why she looks, and she actually lived in this room after Grandfather bought the house. She was the only one, I think my mother was already.
There it is.
So tell me the story of who was the Chum House built for?
Was built for my mother, or built by my mother and my father, by Casper Hegner,
Okay.
who was an architect in Denver, and he was a lifelong friend of my dad's. And that was built for them, and Chan and I lived in the cottage while it was being built.
Okay.
And then Dee Dee was just telling me that she and John R. lived in the cottage while their house on Dexter was being built. Yeah, oh yeah.
In,
I didn't know that Dee Dee
In
and
Hilltop?
John R. had lived here, but
in Hilltop? You said on Dexter?
4th and Dexter. There's a
In
house-
Hilltop. Yeah,
Yeah, I guess that's, you're talking about
that's the name of the neighborhood.
the neighborhood.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was.
I spent a lot of years at the Denver Tennis Club at 4th and Forest, not far from there.
There, yeah.
Yeah, which was built in the late 20s.
Okay. So here's the picture of the canopy. Remember the canopy bed?
It had
The
a,
artist knew what they were doing.
Yeah, that's called a canopy bed.
Yep.
a canopy bed, that was it.
And the fire. See, and what the
Come on, Joe.
Right here.
So you just kind of guess on dating some of these pictures.
Yeah.
It's out of order, yes, it's out of order.
So, yeah, so
Yeah, we do.
Joni got to actually live in this room, and so that's why her picture is here.
We are gonna head back south.
Oh, you need to go.
Time to take a little rest. Great to see you, Bob.
Oh, gosh.
Love you. Are you-
Yeah, what we call the white room. You remember they have a picture of the polar bear rug, which is our era.
One
And
thing,
then I was here, and I don't know how old, but probably 10, 12, something like that, when Lainey did her redo of the white room. So it was enough to really make an impression on me.
one of the things about this bathroom and the man's bathroom that we talk about is the 5 shower heads. Do
Okay.
you have any color on that?
That was probably an affectation of the plumbing.
I tell the stories to say it was a dusty horseback or carriage ride from Denver, but 5 shower heads, really?
Well, they had to, as I said, it's just like the people now that get the European influence.
Yeah.
If you know, they have the little walk-in shower thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that would have been a European influence because remember, Diney was in France for a number of years. Lindsay was in the consulate service in Paris and in Scotland. So she brought back a lot of,
Those things.
and I'm
Yeah.
sure
But I think there
when
was another,
Kessler,
the bathroom downstairs that got taken out, right off of his office.
Probably.
I swear
Yeah.
there was the same type of
Yeah.
5 feet shower.
Now, there used to actually be a bedroom and a bath back there.
I guess that was
On the other
what it was.
side
I
of
just
his
maybe-
office, which is where his office is now primarily where the elevators are.
Yeah.
And the new bathrooms.
yeah, that was his library.
Yeah.
Is where that was grandfather's library. Well, that's the one thing he did was open up the library. To open up into that courtyard. That's one thing grandfather did do.
To open up into the entry hall.
Yeah, to the original, because I remember the original library had books on all sides and it was dark in
Yeah.
there. And he opened, because he liked that, he opened it up and put that, so that is a major structural change. Laney's was just a
You said your
decorative.
mother, yeah. okay.
So his doing that library was a major structural. And, because I remember the early library, and it was dark, and it had all these picture books, and my sister Pam had most of those.
The eyes.
So if you want to
We
get some
understood that the
authentic
eyes come from your
Hunter library things back, ask my cousin.
I don't know, I wasn't.
Let's see what's this.
Well, there.
You recognize any of this furniture?
Your mother.
No?
I don't remember the dining.
And my
Condo somewhere in Denver and so.
Was there any bedroom furniture?
My
house.
Pam has the large eyes. And Susie does, the big eyes.
Big eyes are, well, no.
I think it's more of a,
Yes. I'm trying to remember
I
that
was living in Texas at that
we
time, so
used,
I just got.
used to come into this bathroom.
It's passing, so.
Was this furnished for anybody
But he
to
did
stay
die.
here? Was this a guest bedroom of any kind? I don't think they had guests. I'm wondering.
Somebody's saying that maybe
Anyone-
Joni might have still been living at home.
Well, she was. See how young
Yeah,
she
so this
is?
might have been her room then.
It was. She actually lived here.
Did you guys go outside?
But most of those pictures are of different.
When she came, yeah,
Oh,
Because you can
particularly
go
when
out
she
there and
came
get a
back
beautiful view of everything.
from college.
Come on, let's go on
My
in.
mother,
Yeah.
living
Out here.
at the cottage, his mother, grandfather bought this in '37. I mean, I wasn't, but you were, born '36.
Yeah, but we lived in the Milwaukee Street house for about a year after I was born.
Yeah,
And then they moved out here.
while they
They
were
moved
building
here in
our house
37,
down
so I
here.
wasn't even before I was a year old.
Yeah, we lived in the cottage just while they were building, and then Dee Dee told me, and I wasn't aware of that, that Donnie
Yeah, I don't remember.
and Lindsay were living there while they were building the Dexter Street
Yeah.
house. And I remember the Dexter Street house because Dee Dee and I had tea parties as little girls.
Well, I thought Lindsay went back to France right after the war. You know, that was when
Yeah,
they
well,
married.
he was in the consulate service, so he was. And they, what they do skateboarding in now? Right. With the end boards, and so the polo ball would go up and whack into one of the ends and come flying back at you just as if it had been hit by an opposing polo player. And so he had a great big structure right here. And
And it's being leased by the cattle operations, the club, the Clough Cattle. And so they're also then subleasing the, like Marion's Cottage. So what did you call it? You didn't call it Marion's Cottage, obviously.
no, we just
Swafford had that house when we lived in, my parents moved into this upper house
Right.
in 37.
Oh, and the Swappers.
Yeah. And then built the Chum house, moved there. And Susanna remembers our aunt, Diney, whose name
you
was,
told me about Diney living
okay.
here.
that they lived here for a while, but I don't
And then the
remember that.
Oxnams lived here until they moved into the McLean house.
No, the Oxmans lived down there.
They did, and then moved here
And I don't
later.
remember them moving here because I was away at school by then.
Yeah.
But the Swaffords lived there forever. And then
Did I have the
Bertie
spelling
Munn
right
lived
on
here
that?
for a while too.
Jan, I was telling him it was
What?
S-W-A-F-F.
Swafford?
SWAFFORD. Double F-O-R-D.
Okay.
I had Robert and Maud.
Yeah, Bob Swafford was the foreman of the ranch all the time that our grandfather owned it, so he really ran the operation. And when I got my first horse, I participated in the branding and roundups that they did.
Yeah,
Which included running the cattle through a dip down here for keeping the flies off them and killing the flies. And then this is the house Mary and Morgan lived in.
The first one here? The
No,
second,
this one.
Second one.
And her two sons were 1 year older and 1 year younger than I was. And the younger one was a very, very good horseman. He actually was the very first person to become the junior cowboy of the year at the Arapahoe County Fair.
Yeah.
You know, being able to do all the things that cowboys do in rodeos nowadays.
Oh, yeah.
Little Britches, that's what it's called, the Little
Right.
Britches Rodeo.
Yeah, right. That's a Littleton
I
thing.
don't know if you've read that book or not.
I haven't, but I'm familiar with the road. I'm
book to
familiar with
read
the
if you're familiar
organization.
with us around here. It's really based up in
Yeah,
Littleton area.
it's a Littleton thing primarily.
No, there's the bunkhouse.
Yes, indeed. So how many ranch hands worked here at
Probably
Maximum.
maybe a half dozen people were living here. I mean, Jim Tanner, except his name may have been Tatter or something like that. Susanna has a different recollection than I do. He did all the gardening, and I don't know if he lived in the bunkhouse or not. And then the furthest one was an apartment unit, and a kid that was in my grade school with me lived there with his family.
went
But
in.
most of these were just
For single guys?
very, very small. Yeah.
These for
And
single
then the
guys
middle part
primarily?
was the kitchen. What?
For single guys primarily?
Primarily, yeah.
Yeah.
The bunkhouse.
Most of the people were married.
Come on over here.
Had an apartment or
Carol?
a house.
You call him Tanner, and I remember him as Tedder. Jim Tedder, he took care of the lawn. Tedder? I have T-E-D-D-E-R. But he lived in the bunkhouse, and so did, what was Old Man Leach's first name? We just called him Old Man Leach. And he was the milkman, and I guess he fed the dairy cattle he had, and maybe horses too. So I put him down as animal tender. I had to give him an occupation, you know, a title or an occupational name, what they actually have. And Chan was Louis Oxman's, Bob Wofford's right-hand man, his sort of sub-foreman. What was Louis Oxman?
Lewis?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you were right about, I remember Ronald Oxman, but you said he was 3 or 4 years older than you.
Oh, Ronnie?
Yeah, when you called him Ronnie, but I always knew him as Ronald with a D. But that's maybe because he was sort of grown up compared to me.
So
Because we left here, and I had just graduated from the first graduating class of the new Plum Creek School, which is now the busing station for the district. And I went down there and had a beautiful picture taken with the staff, Mr. Weaver and everybody down there. And they took a few minutes out of their day to be all excited and sentimental like me. Dining room,
right in the middle.
and I don't even know what Doris's name was, but she was a cook here for years and years and
The
years
cook,
and
yeah.
years and years.
So let me ask you what you know about Julia Kissler.
Only that she was the daughter of the first wife, and the two daughters.
oldest
Remember
daughter.
how we were talking
The
about
oldest
Kissler?
daughter, actually. Yeah.
The two eldest daughters, and I don't even remember this Sarah ever being mentioned. But they no longer do the Julia thing on the west porch. You know, that was Caroline's
Right.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That was Caroline's thing, and,
And we've been told not to do
Not
do
to
it.
do
that
that.
anymore.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
we're-
so. But as I
Because
said,
a lot of it, I think that they felt was not factual. They couldn't back it up.
Well, here's
Yeah.
what I know about Julia. So Julia was the oldest daughter. She probably went a couple years to see you. In the 1940 census, she is shown as a hotel clerk in the Hotel Colorado in Glenwood Springs, working for her father, who owns the hotel. And she's married and has a 1-year-old child, where she married a guy from Baggs, Wyoming,
Or
named Winston Thomas Boyer, and her son is the junior. He doesn't show up in the census at all, though he does show up in census in Air Force or Army records, in being in the Army, I think, for 6 months in 1942, if I remember right, discharged honorably, ultimately remarries, I believe, and dies in the 90s in Orange County, California.
interesting.
What I don't know is what happened to Julia after 1940. You have any insights?
No, because as I
Because
said,
I don't.
yeah. Did you get something?
I was thinking she was in Colorado Springs.
Well, people have told me that, but she doesn't end up in either of the cemeteries there
Or none of
at
the
this point,
censuses?
or any other records, so I don't know what happened to her. Susie doesn't know what happens to her. Douglas County Research Library, Sean Boyd doesn't know what happened to her.
But you see, she could have married,
Well, this
and
was-
from there
She could
on,
have
she would have
remarried.
just
This one I don't know what it
she
was.
just
Yeah.
disappeared.
With a
She could have remarried, but Ancestry has no
trailer sticking
more
out.
records of her other than what I've told you.
Barn.
So,
Yeah.
kept our
So you
forage
got
kit.
you
Okay,
have
you don't
more
know.
information
You don't know
about
either,
her.
And there was-
And as I said, Joni was actually, I think, finishing up.
Was it Sarah that they interviewed then about Julia? That was down in Colorado Springs?
well, I've seen no record. Susie thought that she'd been in Colorado Springs, but I've found no documentation to that effect.
Well, the carriages were in one of these garage-like buildings.
So I'm still kind of curious.
Was it Chris that said that? I don't remember.
And stories of her being unhappy when the stepsons came in, well,
Of
those
course,
stories, well, who
because
knows?
Kistler definitely.
Because she stayed and the other daughters went with Florence to Hilltop or Crestmore. And ultimately Florence moved to Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
My battery died, so
And
eventually
as I
she died in
said, yeah,
Connecticut.
well, she
Yeah.
and Kistler kind
But I
of-
never found what happened to her, whether there was a split or where he was living in 40 or any, eventually ended up in the
Yeah,
war.
but as I said, I know Florence was very
Eventually he was
much
in the war.
wanting to put on the dog, and when Kistler got underwater, then
Yeah.
that really cramped her lifestyle. And
I'm sure it did.
And I think my mother or somebody, maybe it was my Aunt Donnie, telling me that it was because of the sun that he was spoiling the son so much and buying him Florence was buying him airplanes, and Kistler said, "Over my dead body." That's an interesting story.
Yeah.
But Florence really did. She really spoiled that boy a whole lot. According to my Aunt Donnie and Jonah, who told me that. And of course, they pretty much gutted this big one when I visited in '09,
Uh-huh.
taken down all the old,
Yeah, it was pretty empty when I looked in this last.
taken down all the stanchions from Kistler's dairy operation.
Yeah.
I noticed they had a grand champion bull and grand champion cow
Yeah.
from his Holstein Friesian line.
And who's the new
Oh, that's a big deal.
The Cloth Cattle Company.
Oh, okay.
Shay owns it, and Cloth is leasing it. And all of this belongs to
You see, they're taking all the feeding stanchions that were still here. They'd taken a couple of them because they had to have some kind of farm equipment in.
So this was a dairy barn, huh?
This was the dairy barn, and that's why the silos are
Yeah.
right here where you can bale it. And they had big chains running where they used to just take the stuff out of it. They grew their own silage
Really?
and put it in the silos, so they put it in, and that's why the stanchions were here with great big feeding trough.
Right.
And then they had all the, they had a big feeding trough. They had a driveway down the middle. And they had, the cows would go in, line up this way or line up this way on those feeding troughs. And then they'd bring in the next bunch, and I don't know if they had any kind of, probably, I don't know if they had milking machines in the 30s or not. We could check with,
Yeah.
we could check with the Dairy Association or someplace
Yeah.
to see if it actually had automatic milking, or they had to have the hands.
It seemed to be early,
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know exactly when
Don't
they
either.
invented. But we did all our hand milking, and Gregory can tell you he got to do the job down at our place.
Got somebody in isolation here? Maybe somebody's being quarantined or sick.
Yeah. Did you get, I forgot to get a picture, and we got it.
Oops. Let's see what we got in
Just
here.
a barn.
Yeah, and as I said,
Yeah.
going in with Carolyn, this is where the raw footage will really help you guys because we actually got to climb up like a really
Cool.
top of the line videos to climb. And so, yeah, this has definitely been I wouldn't recognize this except for the outside.
Yeah, that's where they keep their toys.
Yeah. Well, as I said, this is modern.
Yeah.
19 opposed to, I don't know if this was Chen's beef barn or.
Big barns, yeah.
Hey, Chen, if he's still here.
I don't know. Is that statue of the cow there?
No.
I think that's a modern day
Very, yeah,
invention.
very.
Yeah.
Yeah, did you fatten your beef up in the horse barn?
No, the next one up, the one that's the one
It's
that has
still called the beef barn.
well, the barn that has the. It looks like they're not glass anymore, but the highlights, the dormer windows.
Okay, yeah, that's your beef barn.
That was the beef
Oh,
barn.
so that was windows up there?
Yep.
So this is, let's see, they call this
The machine shop.
machine shop. So that's probably, Chan, I had a question if I have no idea where they stored combines and stuff when they weren't being used.
Oh, maybe just stay out doors.
Well, no, I'm sure I never saw them, and I thought I put them, were they locked up, question. Because they certainly
They had
wouldn't
a lot
walk.
of machines, the thresher machines and stuff like that that we keep up here at the end.
In one of these buildings up here. And this would have been the old church house where we told the ghost story, as well as up in the loft of the first one up here. So we'll take a look on here and see how they call
Yeah.
this.
So this one is probably a horse barn. I don't
No, that's
really
what the sign says, is horse
remember
barn.
it too well.
Well, they had to keep their horses somewhere.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. This is, this is,
Yeah.
and we went up, here are the stairs up to the loft.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not
Tack
supposed
room?
to be going in the buildings.
No, we're not supposed to go, but you see here's the granary and here's the steps
Nice and cool.
up to the loft.
Yep.
And I
We
got
do.
good pictures on my raw footage
Yep.
at that time. And now here's the harness room.
Oh, yeah.
This is very
You
much,
see all the
Very
it
much the same way.
smells.
It smells like horses.
It smells
Yeah.
like horses and it smells like bridles and
It does.
Tack.
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 Yeah.
They got a tack room right here.
Yeah.
From upstairs down, see, you
Yes, they do.
don't even have to go in, you just get food from upstairs down.
Huh.
So that's what I ordered.
Automatically, you see, just put it down the hole right into the manger. And they had hail bales up there and we used to, I don't think we got to feed them, but we got to have fun up there.
Up above, you mean?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I should
Oh, yeah. This
mark here the,
This is where they would have done horseshoeing is out here.
yeah, and they had to have horses for doing the branding, the roping, the driving the cattle in for dipping.
You know how many head of cattle they were running at that time?
Not a
At different
clue.
times? No clue?
Yeah, I would have no clue. Grandfather should have kept business records, but where he would have put those. But you can see they really have to have the trailers here now.
Yeah, they got a bunch of them.
Yeah, they said he's leasing cattle all over the ground. I saw that.
Well, we were on a tour of the backcountry of the HRCA, the Highlands Range Community Association, last night. And we saw a number of the pastures where we asked the question, and they said that Clow has about 500 head
Here.
in various
Over-
pastures
yeah,
on
over- even
HRCA.
clear over on MacArthur Ranch.
Right.
There were a
property.
bunch of cattle over at MacArthur Ranch,
Mm-hmm.
where I ended up going.
Yeah.
To Plum Creek, I drove clear across
Yep.
and got lost. So as I drove way the heck out MacArthur Ranch,
Oh, I'm sure
cabin. So they would have had a cabin barn.
they did.
You always
Yeah.
had to pull Herefords. They're quite often too large. That's
Yeah.
why my folks
So they needed some
grew
help.
the
They needed
black.
some help.
Yeah. So Dad very carefully chose Black Angus for our ranch.
We saw quite a few Black Angus last night
That's
On
those
the-
are the ones out at MacArthur, I think.
on the HRCA land.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a bit of that.
So I can see why has to have horses in the trailers to take his cowboys way the heck out there. Too far to ride. They'd be tired by the time they got there.
They would be.
So, of course, everything else and how they managed. Looks like they've got modern horse pucky here, so
Looks active.
they are keeping horses.
Yeah, we see, maybe half dozen horses on a regular basis here during
Well, I saw one.
mansion. There's 2 or 3 over here.
Yeah.
But we see them out there on that pasture a lot during tours.
Oh, okay.
Don't see
So
any
they
cattle. Don't see any cattle, but
Don't
see horses out there.
See the horses
Yeah.
who they trailer over to MacArthur
Because he's
Ranch.
pastured somewhere else now.
Yeah.
They're up in the backcountry primarily.
Well, we saw cattle yesterday in the backcountry.
That's my point.
Oh, okay.
Is they're not
That's
here.
why
They're
they have the horse
pastured in the
trailers.
backcountry.
They take these horses,
Right.
trailer them over to MacArthur Ranch, and start from there.
So is this bringing back memories?
Oh yeah, the outside.
One of the stalls in there. Probably used that for about 5 years.
Too bad it can't be long.
Of course, they come down to Douglas County Fair every year to show. We had won some kind of prize.
You have to get your medal out or your ribbon or
Although I
whatever.
have hard pressed to find it. I think it was
Yeah.
reserve champions there or something like that.
Huh. They just had the Douglas County Fair last weekend.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Our son, the one with the kids.
Oh, he went?
He went to that. Yeah, I haven't
Okay.
been to the Douglas County.
Yeah. And they do it every year.
Yep.
Looked busy. The day we were there, we got the rain came up and the wind came up and everyone was so glad we were inside. Oh, yeah. Not having to be outside with that.
So Chan, this is your barn for your beef animal?
No, this one.
Okay, you actually had a menu.
Oh, yeah.
I was thinking you
The sign
did.
says cabin barn, but I don't know what this one was. I mean, it was here, obviously, but
Yeah. Oh, this
Actually,
is
maybe-
the one that had that where they kept the great big Belgian horses. When Carolyn and I went into this one, they had the great big super-sized stalls for the Belgians because they had to have great big milk wagons or something.
that predated
That would
grandfather's
have,
being
yeah,
here.
that would have been
Kistler.
either Kistler or even
Yeah.
Springer if Springer had any.
And Gregory
kind.
may be right. They may have had carriages in here because I
Well-
remember seeing them in these other buildings. But
No, all of the carriages in the third.
So what do you find in here?
There's stalls in there. So
Stalls?
She was
Yeah.
talking about Belgian horses. I
Yes,
think.
she was. Oh, it's pretty neat too.
Very neat.
Yeah.
Nicely.
And they've been actively used recently. So yeah.
Now, they haven't done enough of that job. But shade still owns it, so that would have been shady. Well, I think, wow. Yeah.
Put his money into a lot of the new roads too. I'm sure they made him do that.
Well, especially if he's gonna be renting it, he needs usable buildings.
Buildings,
Yeah.
So of course you have to link on this side, but I'm sure
Uh-huh.
we have the pigeon. They had the pigeon coops up here.
Up in
I'll
these
check with
buildings,
Chan.
up in here?
Even up around the corner. In the 09 picture, they had the pigeon coops.
Okay.
And let's see, they have a nice little turnaround here. And of course, when we went up hunting, you just went right up this road. This wasn't, it wasn't locked out. We just went right on up that way and over the hill, and we were at the kennel. So they kept all the hunters over there and they kept the cow horses here. Very obvious. Because when we left here in 54 or whenever it was, they were still running cattle. Bob's
They may have had carriages in this because I don't really remember any memory of it at all.
Oh, yeah. Chan's saying he has no memory of what, Chan?
They're bringing carriages in this, but when they walked up there, it sort of felt like maybe there were carriages in there at one time.
Well, the Surrey and the enclosed carriage was in that first set of barns.
Yeah.
Because I went there more than any other place.
I don't, Jan, if I had to vote for one, I'd vote for this one because of the height. That's the only one that would have the doors high enough
Well, we had that.
to get an enclosed coach in.
No, well, Carrie and Caroline and they had pigeon coops up here. And we took pictures of the pigeon coops.
They wouldn't have fish coops inside.
No, that was built out on the south side of it.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Those have been taken away. Because I'm sure on that raw footage it'll show a picture. According to
That makes sense
mansion.
because it wasn't a lot of carriages in there. Two big doors.
So,
Yeah.
so now you're thinking this is probably the carriage?
No,
I
I
think
think
it was
they
one
were-
of them came on a mound trip. And it came back.
With the meditation here, it makes your son's service hard. I've been taking this for 20 years and nobody bothered to tell me that.
What do you mean from the door? I said even the Surrey with the bridge on top wasn't that tall. Well, that was the Surrey with the bridge on top.
Mount Evans.
And I remember Sally being first or second grade or something like that, and I was a sixth grader. I was little girl. I mean, and sixth graders had nothing to do with second graders, yeah.
True.
So,
True.
just knowing that the McLeans lived here, and Chan is remembering that the Oxmans lived in this house. And I'm still trying to find out if Louis Oxman, and they were here for years and years and years and years and years. Was Bob Swafford's right-hand man, but you can see all the horse stuff that goes with modern ranching as opposed to the old. Oh, this, right up here is where we had our gas station.
Uh-huh.
Chan, do you remember the old pumper, gas pump right there in the corner?
Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact. And there were two down by the main gate coming in, too.
Yeah. So this was for the mansion use, and those were for the farm equipment.
Yeah.
And
So
this
one
was the kind
was
where
diesel, one was gas.
Do you remember if Cocky lived in her house until she died?
No, she went to South Broadway, and I don't know if that's because Bob had a heart attack, and that's when he started turning stuff over to Bud Morgan. We've got
Bob died a long time ago. He died while I was working in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So that
Oh
would've
yeah,
been
and I went to
early
his.
70s.
I went to his funeral, but I don't remember exactly what. I didn't make. I got to see Cocky.
Cocky didn't live here anymore at that time.
No.
And
They
did
lived on their house.
Did Marion Morgan already move there by then?
No, I think she
Bud
came
died
in much
early, too.
later.
Yeah, but
When did he die, though?
He died early too. He died probably in the late 70s, early 80s, after Bob Swafford, but not by much.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
And Marion lived to be 103, was it? Still
two
driving
or
her car?
Well, when I visited her in '09, she had a niece as a caregiver. But she still had all her marbles and memories. And
Yep.
we were talking about the square dancing and the 4-H projects and all that sort of stuff.
Is that a chicken coop or something there?
Is that
just the
where the
pigeon?
pigeons were?
Pigeons up that high, probably.
I don't really remember.
Well, see, you definitely have pigeonholes up there.
Yep.
Yes, you do.
We can get back around the end here.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we get to be
We
great.
should be moving on.
Yeah, and we never came through here because this was where I think really high weeds or cacti.
Yeah.
Yeah, we always took the sidewalk in front of the dugout. Oh, this was not fun. So I don't remember
False front tower.
Yeah. Sure looks like it, doesn't it?
Look at that little window.
That's at the end of the staff quarters.
Oh.
Yeah, which is now a mansion office of the full-time staff who work here. There's maybe 3 or 4 rooms back there.
Is that the attic?
No.
And that
the
chimney
mansion
is part of this building, isn't it?
Yeah.
This chimney?
Yeah. Because I kind of remember that building being the boiler for heating everything here.
And the boiler room now is directly on the other side of this.
I saw that.
Yeah.
But that funny cobblestone wall with those erratic spires in it. I don't remember it all, but obviously it's been there forever and ever.
Yeah, these things show up in some of the early 1900s pictures.
Yep. Yeah, in fact, one of the earlier pictures.
So let's go back into the mansion just to make a pit stop because we only have a few more minutes before they're going to kick us
Then
out,
Chow.
and then we'll head out to Chow, yeah, which is right by the cars.
Okay.
I've never gotten a picture of this from the back end. Have you?
Nope.
I think this is. Oh, okay. It's probably mine. I'll be right there.
So this would have been very much the same as
Yeah.
when Carolyn and I did it. We got to do the inside, which was
I
fortunate.
don't think it's changed much at all.
No.
They've,
His house on Dakota and
I'm sure they've
he designed for him.
debated, you know, they could renovate this and who would move in.
As a caregiver for a caretaker.
Not a caretaker, but as perhaps an historical society.
Oh, Ben.
Somebody like that that might use this as an offices.
Okay.
I've heard that.
Would be a good use for.
I don't think anything else has happened
Over here,
with
we're
it.
going to take a picture of the 3 of you,
Oh,
and then
good.
we'll get Patty in it.
Oh, somebody will need
Yes,
to
we'll
hold on.
hold
My,
your stuff.
maybe you can take a picture of me too.
I can.
if you will.
Don't.
And then I moved that, and that was converted into my chicken house. My playhouse.
Chicken house.
My playhouse was converted into the chicken house. But I was 5th grade about the time we had our 4-H projects.
And you know, the horse shed down at the other ranch was up here.
Yeah.
It got blown over in a storm. It did that was a slope roof facing north. And
Yeah.
a big gust of wind came through and rolled it. Fortunately, nobody was in it at the time.
Look at the back of the house. I never knew that all of this was in the back. This, whatever they call this.
That's where we had our
Half
garden.
timbered.
That's where we had our garden, right about where those big trees are. And Gregory, remember him taking grand champion zucchini at the Douglas County Fair? At the tender age of 6.
Really?
So Gregory
As big as baseball clubs.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
his grand
yeah.
champion zucchini was like this. And my mother would take those out and chop them up. And man, we were eating zucchini coming out our ears. And she had a pretty good recipe. She had to pressure cook them to tenderize. Otherwise, you'd been cooking it for years.
Yeah.
We planted the pumpkins, and they didn't even come up as high as. Look what they've done.
Oh, look at them now.
30 years.
Look at them now. Yeah.
Yeah. But at least they got enough space.
True. A lot of times people plant
And now,
those
if
too
this
close.
is the, we had a whole hedge of this stuff, which is the baby locust.
Yeah, it looks like a locust.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a locust. had little baby beans, and we had a whole hedge of this stuff around that south lawn.
Oh, look at that. Got a broken window.
Uh-oh.
That's not good.
Cat or a dog?
No, and probably vandal.
What's that?
My parents always had
Cat, probably.
domestic help. We had a whole succession, and we actually had a whole apartment here. A bedroom,
Yeah.
a bathroom, that's what this room is, and then a large sitting room, which did have a washing machine in it. But
Yep. And
This
see the
was
bathroom
nice.
there.
this was nice long.
It's too bad we can't get in.
Yeah.
Next time you come,
We will have this
hopefully.
in better hands, and we will
Yeah.
be able to do that. And we had a great big elm outside of this.
Right back here. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, of course, is come out.
Something's been laying around down here.
Oh, yeah.
I think deer.
Deer. Yeah.
Now they're bedding down. This would be a lovely place to bed down. If I were an animal, this place to bed down.
Some radiated heat from the building. This is facing west.
So they'd get
They'd get western radiated heat, so it'd be a little warmer
building, you betcha. So
here in the evening.
this would be a great time for it. And I guess they've been doing it until there's been no wildlife. There's no wildlife left on the
Yeah.
mansion grounds, I'm sure. Maybe you
Not
could
too
find
much.
some gophers and rabbits. Maybe, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't imagine much larger.
Well, in the backcountry, there's plenty. We saw tons of elk yesterday. Deer,
through the garage then?
a lot of elk.
When you
But-
entered the house?
Yeah, when it was snowing, you just drive right into the garage. We had a downstairs refrigerator, freezer, and the pantry.
That's only a one-car garage, isn't it?
Two.
What do you have up here? Do you have a deck of some type?
The deck and the French doors, my parents could roll their bed out of those French doors and they would sleep
Get a
out
breeze.
on this
Yeah.
deck.
Oh wow, wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
They still have a lightning rod up on the chimney,
Yeah.
but
Yep.
they don't do that anymore.
Well, they need it around here. Well, the trees could maybe get it.
Well, for some reason, there's something about houses now that it's not an issue.
We have them on our house.
A lightning rod? Oh, really?
We got one on every peak. We got 7 of them.
Wow.
On just that small house. Every time you have a gable.
I don't know if there's a
Now,
house.
this room is interesting because it looks like somebody's been in there and done something or another. I don't think that's original in there.
Oh, they tore out the closets. Those were torn out when I came through in '09. The
There's a
original
fireplace in
closets.
there, is there not?
And of course, Chum had turned my whole bathroom because I lived in that south wing when I moved out of the playhouse.
Yeah.
Or the children's room
Fireplace is
up in this far corner. As a teenager, I got even younger than a teenager. I got that as my grown-up bedroom.
Wow.
And Chum had converted the closet into where he kept his hunting.
Now,
Does.
who's Chum? That's different than this Chum house.
This is Chum Howe.
Right.
Yeah.
He converted the
Oh,
bathroom.
the Chum,
Yeah, we were
okay.
talking about
The
the same
chum.
one.
Okay, gotcha.
Same
The
one.
person Chum converted that bathroom into his closet. You see the same thing with Tweet Kimball and Johnson Castle. They show her saddle room or her
Right.
Dud's room.
Right,
Right.
upstairs.
Upstairs they have her Dud's room, just like
Oh, okay. Now, did,
anybody who really rides has to have a whole room
oh my,
for 3 or 4 outfits.
okay.
Whether it's a red coat, a black coat,
Right.
or sporting coat,
There's a rabbit.
depending on how.
Now, did you interact with Tweet in the castle or your
No,
family?
we never, there was some not swift thing between my family and Tweet. We were never invited.
Now, when we say your family, the Youngs, what
They
about
have-
the Phipps? Did they?
I have no idea. You have to ask Lawrence how he got along with
We
Tweet.
will.
Tweet was a very strong woman, very opinionated.
I think that's an understatement.
Yeah, and Don Braden, who finally couldn't take Tweet anymore, divorced her and married my Aunt Dinah. So I call him my prince consort to these very strong, dominating, opinionated women. But he played
Yeah.
the role very fine, which was called Yes Dear.
So who was Don Braden? That wasn't the husband that she...
Don Braden was first married to Tweet, and then he married my Aunt Donnie.
He's the one that Tweet never mentioned, I think.
Yeah, because I don't remember hearing him.
Oh yeah, well as I
The
said,
one she wanted to forget.
oh, yeah, she probably never mentioned that she ever was married to Don Braden.
So that's what the ceiling was like?
And we had a little turtle. When we
No, he
came
wasn't
back
the-
after the war, we brought some turtles with us.
It was just
We had a little turtle thing here.
You had a what thing?
We bricked up turtles,
Turtles?
and we built a little brick thing around
Yeah.
it. Forgot the turtles climb each other, and they got out and
I imagine
escaped.
the raccoons are having a fun time in the house.
Boy, whoa, fortunately, that's only goes to a
closet, yeah.
storage closet.
Doesn't have any access into the house.
Yeah, that was our tool closet. Our lawn.
My aunt just had to evict a family of raccoons from her attic.
Oh, do they show anything in here? Whoa.
Yeah, they're about as bad as they get.
And she discovered them because they wanted the light on.
There's,
This
there's
tree they
the
took down.
famous.
I guess when we lived here, it's probably about right about there.
What we have got to do somewhere for you historical people is find a picture of Chan and I standing inside.
Oh, really?
Somebody somewhere.
I think on all the DVR photos is scanned, it may be in there.
Yeah, well, we've got to do some searching through our archives.
And I want to hear about
What's some more of your
rattlesnake
favorite weeds, honey?
Oh, I was telling Mark all about
Oh, well, you, see, that's not fair.
it. Okay, well, you were with...
Mark can share, though.
Yeah. Well, I can tell that story. As I said, this whole field was native grass with this little tiny beaten path. And I stepped right over a animal. I guess Dad told us never to mess with animals. I quietly stepped over him and went on my way, and when I got up to Swafford, I said I saw an animal. It was this brown, long thing with these little black diamonds on it. Guess what that was?
All right.
So I'm glad I was taught not to mess with animals.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. Well, I'm going to use that in my tours from now on. Are you?
Oh, what they call it. And this was the oak that we planted, and I remember when we planted this, and it was really
Just
big
a
around,
baby.
and we had to have supporting stakes on
Oh,
it.
how fun. See, look at how well it grew.
Yeah. And of course, this is a big, tall oak,
Yeah.
as opposed to the oak brush that we
Right,
have all
right,
over
yeah, this
Douglas
is a-
County.
A regular,
Yeah, we had to
scrub.
bring this in. Now that's great big. Is this a cedar or a pine apple?
And did you plant these too?
Why, sure, those were there. And the,
Little
this was
outdoor
grown
fire pit here?
enormously. No, I
Not
I
yours?
don't know. No, this
Okay.
might have been a chum thing where
Maybe
we
a
had
chum.
barbecue.
Maybe a chum thing, yeah.
Yeah,
Like a fire
and that
pit.
wasn't here. This is where I broke my arm for the second or third time.
You fall out of the tree or what?
No, I tripped over a hose,
Yeah.
and I always fell like this. I think I broke my arm this time. Oh dear. And I was telling you about all my trauma falls, or I guess I was telling Nancy about those. I 8 or 10 times I hit my head and my back or my something else's, and so I had a pretty disorganized central nervous system from a very early age.
There you go.
Now this would be a dandy picture. I need a
You don't,
shot from here from anybody who's not. And you got Shannon
you can
Patty,
get the power line out of it. Good, you did.
except for me shaking.
You know, here.
I'll swap you and let you take a
swap
steady
you.
one.
Yeah, we'll swap it.
Yeah, because I would like to have a nice steady one of that one.
There, so if I do a steady one.
But right, yeah, there's nothing
the-
left of the,
You get the line out of it.
yeah. I'm so glad he is photo aware of what's in your photos.
Yeah.
I got some real neat ones of the fireplace, but I had a little George on one side or the other. Chips would say, hey, this is a great picture, but you got a little frog in there. But I was so glad to have Chip because, as I said, my central nervous system is rather destroyed.
Yeah, what Susanna was saying is that
Yeah, Gregory being 10 years younger than I, that's completely different.